Good morning, Raptor freaks. Lexi Outs here, and it is Tuesday, and the Raptors beat the Atlanta Hawks last night. Oh, wait, give me a second. Maybe I shouldn't have brought it all dirty over here, but I got the broom. I was like, oh, man, you got to remember your prop, Lex. The broom, the broom. Yeah, I guess I should have brought this broom out earlier in the season when we swept Cleveland also for the season. So this is two Eastern Conference teams we've swept for the year now between Cleveland and Atlanta. And I love it. It's awesome. It's not easy to sweep a team for the whole entire season, especially when they're not totally bottom feeders. They're actually teams that are kind of in the playoff mix that are been touted by NBA experts to be good teams. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Atlanta Hawks. Alas, they have lost to us for the fourth time this year. And honestly, our team is way better than their team. Our team is talented. Our team plays all out. Our team is professional. Our team has a huge high ceiling. And everything I said yesterday about why our Raptors fans freaking out was exemplified on the court last night. Why are y'all freaking out? Look at our team. It's badass. We've got powerful players that are winning players, and we are a good team. We are in a new era where we are winning without Jakob Poeltl in the lineup. This is like the last couple of years. Yak's out. We're losing. This used to be the rules. You don't have big Yak, the Raptors going to lose. That's not the case anymore. It doesn't mean he's expendable. It just means we're getting that much better in some ways. It really is young guys like Scotty making leaps in his levels as far as a defensive big and also the things he's doing as a big on the court. Collin MurrayBoyles is a rookie coming in and playing above his year, being only a half-year player and playing like he's the man in the court around, pros and vets that have been around longer than him. These are the things. As Scotty said in the interview after the game that Collin's done a good job filling in for Jakob recently. Yeah. I think that one of the things that's been the biggest change in the last couple games is that those two guys that I just named have dedicated themselves to rebounding. They're not messing around on those rebounds right now. Like they're going to get them, and they're getting them. And that's a huge part of the Raptors' success right now is the fact that Scotty Barnes and Collin Murray-Boyles are crashing the boards, and they're taking the balls, and they're stealing and blocking too. Scotty even said last night after the game, Collin's like me. He said that. He's like me. We're similar. And it's nice to have a guy like me around out there to do stuff like me. It's crazy, man. So I got the broom. The broom. All right, I'm going to put that over there. The prop is just good for the beginning. Yeah. So, we got to react to this game last night, a win over Atlanta once again. And we've also got to preview today's game against Noblesville Boom for the G League, Raptors 905. Yeah, let's do that real quick. Let me just check on stuff for that game first. These are the refs for the 905 game later today. I believe it's at regular time, 7:30. If you want to join us on the YouTube chat in Canada, Raptor Freak family should be in there watching the game. We can talk during the Raptors 905 against Noblesville Boom, which are the G League team for the Indiana Pacers. I think that they just renamed the team this year to Noblesville Boom. They were the Fort Wayne Mad Ants last year, which is I think that name was better. I think they moved to the town of Noblesville, and they named the team after the mascot of the Pacers because that little cat-looking creature that's blue with the yellow hair, that's Boomer. That's the name of that mascot, and they're called Noblesville Boom now. So I think that's where they got the name. The crew chief for tonight's game is Brent Haskell. Brent Haskell is an NBA ref in his, let's see, he's number 92 his 5th season as a non-staff official. So he does some NBA games, but he's not a full ref. He's out of Fort Myers, Florida. His favorite TV show is I Think You Should Leave. His favorite movie is Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour. He likes Taylor Swift to listen to. His favorite book is Catch Me If You Can. He likes to eat matar paneer. His favorite app is Flighty. He'd most like to visit Fiji. His bucket list is an Antarctica cruise, and his hidden talent is juggling. Yeah, Brent Haskell has 7 years of officiating in the NBA G League, where he worked both the finals and the Showcase Cup championship games in 2023, 2024, and 2025, and the playoffs in each of the last 5 seasons. Now, he was refereeing one of our games in Orlando in the Winter Showcase. I think he reffed either the last game or the game against San Diego. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Brent Haskell is the crew chief. The referee will be Julian Scott, number 61, and the umpire will be Ian McClenny, number 59. Those are your refs for tonight's G League game against Noblesville. Who are the Noblesville Boom? Well, this is their roster. We have not seen them this year at all yet, so this will be the first time playing them. R.J. Felton out of East Carolina, guard for them. Kyle Guy out of Virginia. DeJuan Gordon out of Texas. Cameron Hildreth from Wake Forest. MJ Iraldi, Nova Southeastern. Quentin Jackson, Texas A&M. Samson Johnson from UConn. Cody Martin from Nevada. So Cody Martin is on this team. One of the Martin twins. Yeah, the other Martin twins. So he's on this team. We'll see if he's actually on this team or two-way. Not totally sure. I think Quentin Jackson is a two-way with the Pacers. He definitely plays for the Pacers. Gabe McLaughlin of Grand Canyon. Is that a school, Grand Canyon? Or is he just from the Grand Canyon? He just walked out of the Grand Canyon. It was a basketball player. Talon Peter out of Liberty. Ray Spalding of Louisville. Jalen Slauson of Furman. We do know Jalen Slauson. I've heard of him. Audis Tony of Arkansas and Ethan Thompson of Oregon State. That is the lineup for the Noblesville Boom, who the Raptors 905 will be playing against later on today. They came out yesterday with the news that Andrew Jones is the G League Coach of the Month. He should have won it last month, but a month late is fine with me. He's continued to have excellence. And last month, it was the Austin Spurs coach. Well, this month, it's the Raptors 905 coach that is G League Coach of the Month. And that's awesome. That is really, really good. That's really, really good. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat real quick. James is saying Collin Murray-Boyles is a menace on defense. Yeah, that's how he came advertised. You know, the thing that made Collin so good at the Combine was that he had really good analytics on, things like his hands and his leaping ability and his aptitude and his ability to go get stuff. There's certain printouts of stats that showed that he was the most skilled and talented player in this draft, like even better than Cooper Flagg. And, I didn't see all that in watching him last year in the clips when I scouted him for the draft. I just saw an undersized guy. And I thought that's a detriment. That's something that, we may not want to get him because he's not a sure thing. That, a lot of what he's supposed to be in college may not translate to the NBA. But Bobby knew better. And in some ways, it's like this stuff is going to translate, Raptors freak. And you'll see. And the biggest thing that's translated the most from Collin that's made this so amazing in his rookie season is his strength. The guy is way stronger than he's supposed to be at this point in his NBA career. You're supposed to come in and get, whoa, this is too strong, the NBA. And then you react and you go hit the weight room and you start getting bulked up yourself. But Collin's interesting. He said this in the interview after the game last night, that he's not surprised by the strength of the league because he was anticipating it. That he, this summer before and in his college career, was lifting and getting strong because he knew it was going to be like that in the NBA. So he'd be ready. And he's shown up And he's muscling around 10-year pros, and they're turning around and telling the people on the Raptors bench, man, this guy's really strong. This guy's really strong. I think there's like Jaylen Brown said that, or somebody said that. A couple different people said that Collin Murray-Boyles is incredibly strong. You know, he's been thrown in the fire already this season. He was muscling up with Steven Adams, for Pete's sake. You know, that's crazy. That's crazy. That guy is probably one of the strongest guys, if not the top 3 strongest guys in the league right now. And Colin was holding his own with him. So that says a lot about him right there. You know, the strength along with the hands, the gifted hands, which Darko said after the game last night, you can't teach that. I have nothing to do with it. I can't take credit for Colin's defensive stuff because it's God-given talent with his acumen, with his hands and quickness and strength. You know, it's amazing. He really is a fantastic player to have on our team. And my premonition earlier this season that he's going to bring championships to the Raptors still stands true. That he's just there's something about him that just keys something that in my mind that tells me this guy is a key to get a championship. And the more we see of him, the more evidence proves that this is probably true. It's probably true. James is saying this. Alex, do you still think Collin plays like Charles Barkley? I see more Draymond. Yeah, I'm very much firmly on this, and I'm not changing that. He's still like Charles Barkley, not Draymond. When somebody says somebody's like Draymond, I take that as an insult to that person. Because to me, Draymond Green is a glorified goon that got an extra pass from the NBA to do it. If you want to call him a defensive genius, well, he's a defensive genius like Bill Laimbeer was a defensive genius. And, well, Bill Laimbeer is unabashedly a goon, unabashedly a dirty player, and somebody who made a career like that. And I'm a fan of his. And I'll even say that. He was a very low-skill player that was a goon that used strength to push people around, and he did dirty shit all the time. That's Draymond. Draymond's more like Bill Laimbeer. I don't respect Draymond Green. I feel like when people make that comparison, you're insulting Collin Murray-Boyles. Because Draymond Green is not a skilled player like Collin Murray-Boyles or Scotty Barnes. And comparing these guys to Draymond Green is an insult. Let's just put it that way. Even Draymond said, Scotty's way better than me. Well, Collin's way better than him too. It's just Draymond's been allowed by the NBA to be a goon his whole career. He's made a career out of it. In some ways, he's not a good basketball player. In some ways, he has barely any skills. He's just been allowed to push people around and do dirty shit while the NBA allowed him to. So I have no respect for Draymond. I think that's an insult. And I'll tell you why he's like Charles Barkley more than Draymond Green. If you are not familiar with Charles Barkley, James, you need to go watch him. And you will see why this comparison is true. Jack said it last night. He might as well say he's comparing him to Charles Barkley because he's talking about Collin last night in the game. He said he's definitely undersized. That's Charles Barkley. And he has an amazing explosive leaping ability. That is Charles Barkley. And that's why I stand firm on this. Now, Charles had more of an outside game and stuff developed, and he was more of a well-rounded offensive player and more of a go-to guy. And in some ways, Collin Murray-Boyles is more of the defensive side of Charles Barkley. Because this is the thing, Charles Barkley, and Jack said this during the game last night, Collin, when you get the ball near the basket, you need to just elevate with your supremely talented, explosive leaping ability and dunk on their heads. There were a couple times where Collin got in the mire with the defensive players around the basket, and he kind of got held back. But that's what Jack says, and he could see it. Well, who could do that in the history of the NBA? Draymond Green can't do that shit. He can't explosively just jump up over everybody and dunk on their heads. Charles Barkley can, though. And that's why right there, James, I mean, I really can't say this enough. If you are not old school enough to go back and actually understand who Charles Barkley was, other than being a bald man on TV, talking out of his ass, saying amazing things and being funny and a truth teller and one of the most respected broadcasters in the NBA's history, you have to know his playing career. You have to know who Charles Barkley was. And Charles Barkley's attributes are very similar to Collin's. Very, very similar. They're about the same height. They're the same kind of strength for that size. See, Charles was a little guy who could outmuscle everybody around him. He could throw 7-foot guys around like they were a piece of paper. And he was really like 6'4", 6'5". And Collin Murray-Boyles is not 6'7", guys. He's like more 6'5". He's not as tall as you guys think he is. And that's why I say this. And the other thing is he can elevate, like I said, so quickly. The elevator goes up fast. And the other thing, Charles did have really good hands too. Charles had sticky hands that he could just reach out and grab stuff with his strength and just take it. And he also had a leaping ability that allowed him to block shots on players that were almost a foot taller than him. So, yeah, no, the comparison's definitely Barkley still. And if you don't see it, you need to go watch Charles Barkley and you'll see what I'm talking about, because he's a relentless rebounder too. If like Barkley didn't make the shot, he would continue to go get it and put it back up and put it back up until he made it. And Collin MurrayBoyles is doing that. Board man gets paid. Offensive rebound, okay, put it back. Offensive rebound, put it back until it goes in. So, yeah, no, Draymond, that's an insult, bro. That's an insult. Everybody who tries to compare Draymond Green to people on this channel, you're going to find out I'm going to say that every time. Draymond is a default lazy comparison that a lot of people around the NBA use all the time, which I hate, because Draymond Green in some ways is a unique player to himself because he has privilege in this league that nobody else has ever been given ever in the history of the NBA, honestly. He's been given so much leeway to be an absolute ass and a dirty player, and the NBA lets him get away with it. So, no, man, I reject that. And I also say that it's an insult to Collin MurrayBoyles, a man who's much more skilled than Draymond Green. And y'all can call him a defensive genius. I'll call him a privileged goon. That's what I'll call him. Yeah. I hate this. I hate this when people bring Draymond up as a comparison. It's so. I'm not trying to come at you, James. I'm just saying it's a lazy take to compare Draymond to people. It just is. People have been doing this for a couple years now, and I'm just like, oh, somebody's comparing him to Draymond. People to Draymond again. I'm like, why? Why? Nobody's allowed to do what Draymond's allowed to do in this league, so there's no comparison. He's a privileged little shit that gets to do extra shit that nobody else gets to do in this league. I have no respect for Draymond Green. Obviously, can't you tell? Trevor J saying, don't depend too much on anyone in this world because even your own shadow leaves you when you are in the dark. That's crazy. I don't even look at it that way. If I'm in the dark, the whole dark is my shadow. And that's the power I have in that. Yeah, that's what I say to that. That's interesting. I mean, I get the whole don't depend on people too much. You know, there was a while in my creative career where I would depend on people like crazy. I used to put on shows in downtown Toronto and have to depend on like 50 people to do the show with me, to show up and do the practice and get on stage and do everything. I had people let me down. I used to do all kinds of different stuff creatively in collaboration with people, even on this channel. And I've had people let me down. So more and more, I've decided I want to be an independent creator. I don't want to have to rely on anyone. I'd get a co-host for this show and put them in a little box, but could I depend on them to show up all the time and be there for me? No, maybe not. They'll let me down. So in some ways, that's why I appreciate you, because you do show up every morning. And in some ways, I don't ask that of you, but you do it anyway. And you're like the closest thing to somebody that I would depend on, because you're the only one that's here every day for sure. For sure, Trevor's here in the morning. But there have been other people who try to collaborate with me on this channel and say, I'll be there for you on this and this. And they absolutely failed at doing that. So I try not to collaborate with people anymore. I like working on my own and working independently because people let me down when they make commitments and say they're going to do something, and then they don't. So yeah, that's really, I read this as that is I'm not dependent on anybody to do this channel, hardly at all. If I can, I'll do it all myself. And that way I don't have to be let down when they aren't there for me when I need them. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? And we know who I'm talking about. But yeah, in the past, in my creative stuff, it was the same thing with comedy and writing comedy and putting on stage shows. At a certain point, people just got so flaky. I was just like, you know what? I just want to do shit on my own. And that's kind of why I started doing the convenience store show, because I could produce and handle all that on my own, and it evolved into this. Thank you for the words of wisdom, Trevor J. I agree. If you can be autonomous and you can be a strong individual on your own in your own life, that is very powerful. And especially with what might be coming in the world in the next few years. Seriously. It's good to have a support system, and it's good to have people that you work with if you can, and you can depend on them. But man, I find that it's very hard to find people that are absolutely dependable. Honestly, it's very, very hard. Trevor's saying CMB fully learned the NBA. He's going to be a problem. When he gets to that point, he hasn't scratched the surface. That's the crazy thing. You know, Darko said last night, and Kareem said this in the chat last night on Discord, and I totally disagreed with him. And Darko said why exactly last night, too. Kareem said, when are we going to start running plays for Collin in the post? You don't do that for a rookie. No, you don't. We didn't do that for Scotty when he was a rookie and he was a number 4 pick. No, remember Scotty's rookie year? They didn't run any plays for him. He was just out there freelancing, doing whatever was supposed to be done on the court. No, all the plays went to Siakam and Van Vliet and Anunoby and people like that who were ahead of him in years of experience in the NBA. You don't give rookies play sets at the start. No. You don't do that. And Darko said that last night. Exactly how I said it. You don't give a rookie a play set and play calls. He has to earn it. He has to play his first year playing and just finding his characteristics and who he is in the NBA. And, you know, he's a garbage man. That's what he is. He's a garbage man. He's got to be out there cleaning up the offensive rebounds and putting them back. He's got to be out there getting loose balls. He's got to be out there being a shit disturber, getting deflections, steals, and blocks. But there's no play sets called for him. As Darko said, we got Brandon on this team. We've got RJ and we've got Scotty. These guys get plays called for them. Collin's just a rookie. He's not ready for that level yet because in some ways he could do it, sure, but there's a hierarchy and rookies don't get play sets called for them right away. It's a discovery year to figure out exactly the possibilities and potentials of him and naturally letting him run in the flow of the game and seeing what naturally happens with him and what happens. So, yeah, I totally agree with this because in some ways, look, we've got a lot of mouths to feed. And if we're going to be setting people up, we're going to be setting up the main 4 guys with play sets in place because they have seniority, they have more time put in, and they have more polish to their offensive games. Collin at some point probably will get play sets called for him in the post with his back to the basket, but it ain't going to happen this year. No, it's not. And I knew that when Kareem said that in the chat, even before Darko said it in the post-game conference after the game afterwards. Yeah, Collin's not getting plays called for him. He's in there to get garbage points and get putbacks and do that stuff. He gets an open 3 in the flow of the offense. That's not a play call for him. That's just the ball landed in his lap and he was the open one. So, and I agree with this. They did the same thing with Scotty. Scotty's first year with Nick, he did not get plays called for him. He had to run around and just do all kinds of stuff on the court and find his game that way. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, Collin's got a lot of room to grow. The crazy thing is his rookie strength, he's going to get stronger. That's the craziest thing about this. He's already out muscling vets and throwing people around on the court, and he's going to get stronger, guys. He doesn't have the total muscle definition or the strength that he will have soon because he's younger and he's only his first year. This journey with Scott, you can see it with him. When Scotty showed up, he had strong shoulders, but he didn't have all the muscle on his arms and the rest of his body. And now you see 5 years in with Scotty, just how much he's throwing people around and how much he is very strong in this league at this point. Well, Collin's got a ceiling that's much higher with his strength. And that's going to be really interesting to see how strong he gets. Trevor's saying the Raptors destroyed the Hawks' hopes and dreams. I feel like the Hawks have destroyed Trae Young's hopes and dreams. Man, this has really accelerated while they're in Toronto. I guess the news about how he makes their team worse just is out of the bag, and now they're trying to work a trade for him to go to, what was I hearing? Washington. That's what they announced on the broadcast last night. Matt Devlin talking about there's a deal between the Wizards and the Hawks, which sent CJ McCollum to Atlanta and Trae Young to Washington. You know what that is, man. Washington is exile. Washington is, you know what? Nobody really wants you in this league. You're on the Wizards. That's what that is, bro. If you find yourself in Washington at some point in your career, something has gone very wrong. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, I don't know. The Hawks will be a better team going forward. It was interesting having Porzingis in the game last night as a difference between Saturday's game and this game last night. He's very surly. He's very agitated. Porzingis is a weird player, man. Obviously, he helps the team's defense, and he's a very overpowering offensive player in certain ways too. But he's also kind of a dick. and he's kind of a weird dude. Like, he has a weird personality, and he was definitely getting frustrated. We were getting to him and getting him really mad. It started with Shed. He did a little pick on Shed, and Shed didn't like it. It was dirty in some ways. It was really wrong in some ways. And Shed pushed him really hard on a hard foul on a layup, and Porzingis didn't like that. He pushed Shed back. So there's a lot of chippiness around Zingis. Just him being a surly Latvian, being out there prickly and weird. And then the things with RJ was fun too. That whole incident with RJ, and Curtis Blair gave a technical to RJ for the extra shove at the end. Yeah, there were a little bit of like animosity and grudge match kind of energy between Porzingis and some of the Raptors last night. And I don't mind it. They didn't back down from him. In some ways, he got agitated, and he did get motivated to try and score on us all of a sudden, but he wasn't totally successful in all those instances where he was trying to force his offense. Sometimes he was, but most of the time he wasn't. And in some ways, if there was a mind games or a head games, well, the Raptors won that one. And I appreciate RJ Barrett for stepping up and being a leader on our team and not letting Porzingis punk us. That he's like, yeah, I'll push you back. I don't care how big you are. You're going to come in that way. Yeah, I'll push you. Yeah, I'll take the technical. And then he kept jawing about it afterwards with the refs. You could hear RJ talking about it. It's like, he's shoving me. Why'd you put the technical on me? He shoved me first. You know, saying stuff like that is very interesting. Yeah, RJ's a real fighter, man. You know, he didn't have a really good game in the first half. He was missing a lot, but he really came around by the end of the game. That's for sure. He really, really did. Yeah, Trevor's saying congratulations to Drew Jones for being the G League Coach of the Month for December. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic stuff. You know, our team is 5-1 in the regular season. We take that record tonight against Noblesville Boom, and hopefully we can be 6-1 after tonight and keep this awesome stuff going with the Raptors 905 right now. That's right. Keep it going. That's right. Fiercely saying good morning, fam, and happy Tuesday. We did it. Hawks have been swept by us. The Pistons and the Bulls, they need to figure things out. They just aren't as advertised. Last summer, they were advertised as, wow, an up-and-coming top Eastern team. I don't see that. I don't see that. Dysfunction, weirdness, weird team. Yeah, it's just how it is. It's just how it is. The vibes on that team are weird, man. They got some supervillain vibes, honestly, with Porzingis and Krejci and Dyson Daniels and different guys like that. They just seemed like kind of a weird supervillain team. And yeah, they lost. They lost twice. That's what happened. That's right. Fiercely saying, my 7 stars are the starting 5 plus Grady and Shed. Special mention to Mamu. Okay, that's interesting. You picked all 5 of the starters. Yeah, I mean, they were all solid. There was 7 guys in double digits for the Raptors last night, which is fantastic to see that. There's 7 guys in double digits for the Hawks too. This is weird. This is weird. So 14 players scored in double digits last night. Nobody got over 20. That's interesting right there. That, you know, after a game on Saturday where you had a bunch of different people getting over 20, RJ, Jalen Johnson, Brandon Ingram. Last night, you had 7 double-digit guys on both sides, and nobody scored over 20. It's weird, man. It's so weird. But yeah, it was a different game. I think with Porzingis out there, it slowed down and got a little bit more defensive and wasn't as up-tempo as last game. But there was some sections where it was really kind of up-tempo. I really have to say, man, give so much credit to Darko for the timing of his timeouts. You know, this is something underrated this whole season that people should be giving him more credit for. He is so good at trying to kill runs for the other team. And when they start getting close to us, he doesn't wait for them to come and take the lead from us. Like last night in the second half, Darko was calling timeouts when the Hawks would get close as 10. They'd get as close as 10, and boom, all of a sudden, timeout. Let's slow down their momentum. Let's get a break because I see a run developing for the opposition. Really, really masterful stuff. This is something that I've taken for granted most of the season because he's very, very steady and consistent with this. But we need to give him more credit for this because it was very key last night because he cut off some points in the game where Atlanta could have gone on a run and come back at us with his timeout. You know, Nick was the opposite. Nick Nurse would frustrate the hell out of me, waiting. Oh, they'll play through it. Don't worry. They'll play through it. And he let them try and play through it, and it get worse and worse. Well, Darko doesn't do that, thank God. And, in some ways, that's part of our success. Now, we have a winning attitude. We have a winning way. We want to win more. We have guys that really want to win. And the thing is, look, we could have been lackadaisical after handling them on Saturday. We came out with an extra stronger defensive effort, and we made it even harder for the Hawks in the game last night than Saturday. In fact, I can tell that the Raptors coaching staff and the players went over lots of tape in the last 2 days before this game, and they really figured out some differences and adjustments to put in the game last night that absolutely worked and made it even more of a beatdown of the Raptors on the Hawks. Because, look, they played us more even on Saturday. We played them even tougher and beat them even worse last night. Yeah. And these games that we beat the Hawks, the stats are like we beat them in double digits, all 4 of these victories. The average margin of victory was a double digits in all the games against Atlanta all year. First game of the season, embarrassed them on their home court. Second game of the season against them in the in-season tournament for a lot more at play. And then a 2-game at Toronto series, beat them both games. And once again, that's not an easy thing to do, is to beat the same team 2 times in a row in the same settings. If it's playoff kind of stuff, you figure, teams are going to be like a win-loss is like 50-50. Maybe it's like 60-40, but, to take care of business and do this is really good. It's really, really good. The Raptors 905 get these opportunities all the time in their schedule in the G League where they'll play the same team 2 games in a row at the same setting. And they've been winning those games too, obviously, with their amazing record. They've had a bunch of 2-game series against Eastern Conference G League teams, and they absolutely swept them and took care of business, not losing either one of the games. This is a tough thing to do in this league, and that's why in some ways last night was a trap game, just for a letdown, just to be like, well, do we really want to sweep them? Yeah, we do, and we do really want to beat them because the Eastern Conference is very close right now, and Philadelphia 76ers are nipping at our heels. So we need to do this. Darko said last night, it was crazy. He said, I have not looked at the standings. It's like, wait, what? What? You're not even looking at the standings. He's like, I don't look at social media. I don't even know where we are in the Eastern Conference right now. I'm like, whoa, man. I mean, I'm like, dude, if you look, you might be really surprised and happy. You're in 4th. When he said that, I was like, holy crap, this coach is so zeroed in. He's so centered on just what they're doing and the 1% better every day that he's not even taking checks on where they are with the league. They don't even care. He's not even looking at that. He's not worried about the playoffs. He's not worried about the standings. I'm like, holy crap. In some ways, that sounds irresponsible, but also in some ways, it's kind of badass. He's like, I don't care what the standings are. And he's precariously a half game ahead of like 3 teams right now. Just keep winning. It'll all work out. It'll be fine. Yeah. Well, tomorrow, Charlotte, we owe them. Definitely. We definitely owe them. And I feel like we're in a better place, obviously, because RJ's back. Even if Yak's not back, we need to beat the Hornets because they got 2 wins over us this season that absolutely they should not have gotten over us. And we owe them. We owe them something. And, well, we'll have the preview tomorrow talking about that tomorrow. That's right. Fiercey saying spicy moments with Porzingis. He's a weird one. Can be effective once in the game, but also disruptive and frustrating. Yeah, well, he doesn't start. That tells a lot right there. Okongwu may be a little bit more dependable and a little bit more even-keeled. I don't know. Porzingis is weird, man. That team is just really weird and dysfunctional. Obviously now with Trae Young on the outs, and it's all kind of broken, and he's not going to be sticking around. That's just got to be weird energy around there. You can kind of read it in the faces of Daniels and Johnson because those guys are young guys that are up and coming, and they are the part of the future for the Hawks. And they kind of look exhausted and kind of tired of the weird drama with Trae Young and maybe even with Kristaps. And they're kind of like, you know what? I'd like to get to the next chapter of Hawks basketball. I get that feeling. It's like, can this little guy at the end of the bench just take off now, please? Can he just get out of here? I feel like that energy is coming from them right now. Trevor's saying this, Oklahoma City's been losing to teams under 500. They lost to the Charlotte Hornets last night. See, that's a big deal. So let me see. The Hornets beat the Thunder. If we beat the Hornets tomorrow, we're better than the Thunder? Woo! I don't know. That's not exactly right NBA math, but can it be inferred? Maybe. I don't know. That's interesting. See, this is what I was trying to tell people. You guys can think that 2 losses to the Hornets this year is a travesty, is an embarrassment, but this is the thing. The Hornets are changing. And they're kind of like the Hawks. It's going to be this kind of thing where like Con Knipple and Brandon Miller are going to be the future, just like Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels, and LaMelo Ball's like Trae Young. You're going to be like, yeah, you can go, man. We don't need you. We don't want you on this team. You know, I think that Jack was talking about this on the broadcast last night, that there's this group of unwantables in this league, and they should just get shuffled around and traded for each other and put in different positions around the league. I've said this a couple times on this channel in the last couple weeks. If there's players that are looked at as having negative value or not helping, well, shuffle them around, put them on a little carousel, and see which one you get in your position in the whole thing. You know, Anthony Davis, LaMelo Ball, Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, Trae Young, all these guys. Let's just put them all in a pot and their names in a hat. And each of the teams that are involved with them, take one of the names out and you get whichever one you get that isn't yours. I feel like that's what they need to do, man, with these guys. Because in a lot of ways, nobody wants these guys. It's really crazy. It's going to be like this weird, nobody wants these guys trade market. Where, yeah, do you have a nobody wants these guys guy? Okay, yeah, let's talk. Let's talk. I feel like that's what's happening, man. Trevor's saying Porzingis is like a pack of crackers that crumble. He was getting really mad, man. It's kind of funny. You know, when Sandro plays him, I see Eurobasket stuff when they're playing against each other. And I know that Sandro's played against Porzingis in international play many times. So there's sometimes a little bit of an extra kind of battling because of that. You know, Porzingis is interesting, man. When he's on a team that he plays on with a team, he can be very dangerous. But if he's just an individual out there running around being Porzingis and the team doesn't really have a concept with him involved, well, you see what it is. It's like what was last night. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. No diss on Quinn Snyder. It's just he's in a weird position. You know, he took that job with the Hawks because he got free as a free agent coach all of a sudden, and he was probably the best coach on the free agency market at that time. So the Hawks jumped on him, and he's had some success in Atlanta so far since he's been their coach. But in some ways, he's also kind of been It's kind of spinning their wheels too. It's got to be a tough job to coach, especially with Trae Young still around. Once he's gone, maybe it'll be easier for them. Maybe, yeah. Isaac's got me on blast. Look at Isaac Campbell. That's right. Stargate's here. Good morning to Stargate. Let's see what he's saying here in the chat on this Tuesday morning. He's saying the Mad Ants were the best name in the league. Why change it? It was a fire ant name. I know. I thought that was a cool name too. They've changed their name like 4 times in the last couple of years. They were the Indiana Mad Ants technically last year. They weren't Fort Wayne. It's like they've switched the location where this G League team is in Indiana. Like it was in Fort Wayne. Then it was in Indianapolis, and then they moved it to Noblesville. And I don't know why they changed it to the Boom. Noblesville Boom. It's weird. It's weird. We'll just have to see their whole look and their jerseys tonight against the 905. Let's go 905. That's right. I bet you Chucky is still day-to-day. We'll have to see if Chucky Hepburn is available to Andrew Jones for the game tonight against the Indiana G League team. We'll just have to see. Yeah. Yeah, Nako's here. Good morning to Gerald. I hope you've had a great birthday week, my guy. Boomer seems like an unfortunate nickname. This year will be as bad as CMB will ever be. Well, they're the Boom. They're not the Boomer. And let's not make this a generational thing or anything like that. You know, the generation wars are a manufactured thing just like the culture wars. It's a class war we're involved in, Gerald. So don't fall for hating Boomers or Gen X or Gen Z or millennials or any of that crap. It's just another way that the powers that be try to keep us separated and at odds with each other. The Boomers, in some ways, yeah, there is some blame for what's happened at this point in history and why we've gotten to this point. But at the same time, there's a lot of good Boomers out there that want to help fix things and are fighting against it too. So, yeah, I know that that's why you think it's an unfortunate nickname. But I would say this, you know, the baby boomers were a huge generation, and in some ways they were an important part of the last 100 years. And in some ways, you know, a lot of the animosity like people have towards like different generations is stupid. Once again, we know that in every generation there's individuals that are very different, and just lumping everybody together as one thing just because their age bracket is absolutely, in some ways, it's not racist, but it's ageist, and it's kind of messed up. You think it's an unfortunate nickname because of that, don't you? Well, the nickname of the Indiana Pacers mascot is Boomer. So that's where they get it from. There, right there. Yeah. Seymour's here. Good morning to Seymour. You want to do 4 quarters? Give me a call. Feeling it for Pascal, man. That's a lot of L's. It's not anything he's never been through. That's for sure right there. There's nothing that he's never been through. He's been through it with the Raptors. So he knows how it is. In some ways, he knows, somebody said this in the last couple of days about the Pacers. They'll get a good draft pick and Halliburton will come back and they'll be a better Eastern team next year. So this is just a down year, and hopefully they can bounce back and win more games next year. I like Rick Carlisle. I love Siakam. So I want good things to happen for them. Yeah, I want that to happen for them. All right, let's see. Okay, we're going to get the infamous 6 real quick here, guys. Let's see. Let me get the speaker on. Good morning, infamous. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, Lex. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Let me make sure your volume's all the way up. All right, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
If you can't hear me, just let me know.
No, I can hear you.
Can you
It's
hear me
just sometimes I put my phone down during the day, and I just got to make sure I got it up on the volume. So
No problem, no problem.
So what's going on?
Great game last night. You know what's funny, Lex? I had no doubt they were going to win last night's game based off the first 5 minutes of the game. It looked like Indiana was defeated, and it just didn't have any fight in them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not Indiana. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Atlanta. Atlanta looked defeated, and it just looked like they didn't have the fight in them. And I think part of it probably has to do with what's going on behind the scenes with Trae Young. I think it's affecting their locker room.
For sure.
You can see it on the court.
Yeah. I think that is smart. Like if that's something that Darko is aware of or kind of feeling the vibes about that, that it's smart for him to get a game plan where the Raptors really come together and show how much of a team they are working off of each other on defense and communication. And then obviously on offense, the ball was moving around really, really well. There was one play where Collin threw the ball to RJ or RJ threw the ball to Collin, and then Collin dropped it off for Scotty for that dunk on the baseline.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You know that play I'm talking about? That was that exemplified to me just the high level of unselfishness and passing that those guys have, because Scotty's the most unselfish, best passer out of them, and he was the one who got that pass at the end of it.
Perfect. So, that goes into my next point. CMB is developing, and if we follow the trajectory, he can develop into a mini Scotty Barnes. Like he's basically a mini Scotty Barnes on the court. And if you have 2 Scotty Barnes on the court, can you imagine how the future is going to look with this team? It's going to be fantastic.
Well, we're already seeing it. We're seeing it right now. Like these guys, you know what they remind me of? This occurred to me the other day. I'm going to use an analogy real quick. They remind me of rooks on a chessboard. Think about that. They remind me of rooks on a chessboard because they're these pieces on the chessboard. They can go one way and this way, every which way, and they're just kind of sweeping players that come across and just have an effect. In some ways, it's a defensive effect. That's what you use the rook for on a chessboard, the little castles. And
correct.
Yeah, so it's like I for some reason I thought of that analogy the other day. I was like, man, that's a set. There's 2 of them. And they're kind of doing that kind of work around. They come real quick, and they're all of a sudden right there, and they're defensively there as a presence.
So. What's truly going to show his development is when teams adjust to him, because you know how it goes. You go through that rookie stage where other teams figure you out, and then they adjust. And then how he handles the adjustment when teams are when he's now on the scouting report and they have time to plan for him. So how he adjusts past that stage will truly define what type of player he's going to become.
Yeah, and kind of getting back to my point earlier about how there's no plays run for him right now. In some ways, next year we'll probably run some plays for him, and then that's kind of when we'll see this kind of stuff happen where teams have figured him out, and maybe they have these ways that they try and combat him, and then he has to make the adjustment to overcome it after that. And, this is a lot with the young guys on our bench right now. They're going through it. They haven't totally adjusted to the changes of how people are guarding them, especially Grady. And Collin will have that path too, but it's interesting. He's in the discovery phase right now. Just do whatever you're going to do. Have fun out in the court. Let's just see what your individuality as a player is in the NBA. And then next year, maybe we have some play sets schemed in with him in mind as the person who's getting the ball. And then we see how they play that. And then we adjust. Yeah.
Great. And, going to my next point, what really unlocks this team? What really unlocks this team is when everybody on the court, and we saw it last night, it was a perfect example, when everybody on the court is willing to pass, become willing passers.
Yeah.
Once we become willing passers and we get everybody involved, that is what truly unlocks this team.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the biggest keys to the Raptors playing well is when they play together and when they're connected. And that's on both ends of the court, whether it's in the passing schemes on the offense or communicating and working off each other on the defensive end. Because some of the stuff on the defensive end is really interesting because you'll see one of the Raptors kind of upset the ball handler for the other team. And then a second Raptor comes in and kind of finishes the job of like attacking. And that's why there were a lot of jump balls last night. There was a lot of weird loose balls coming loose all of a sudden. Because the other thing is the refs are allowing a physicality and not blowing the whistle, especially in these last two games with Atlanta, that has been fun. Because in some ways we could go in there and really rouse and mess them up. And we're not getting called for a lot of stuff and they're letting them play, which is awesome. It really does help our personnel when the refs swallow the whistle. It definitely does. Yeah.
And getting into my final point here, I'm very, very looking forward to the next 4 games that are coming up. So our next game is against Charlotte.
Yeah.
Next game we have a game against Boston and a back-to-back against Philly.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. This is the question I have for you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see us record-wise in the next 4 upcoming games?
These 4 games coming up? Well,
yes, sir.
I would say this. I would like to appreciate. This is a great question. I would say this. We're looking at 4 games. I would like to be at least 500, if not 3-1, is what I'd like to be. Like, because first of all, I don't think that we'll win all of these 4 games. It would be very, very difficult. The fact that we're playing both the games against Philly here in Toronto is good. The fact that we're playing them in consecutive days in some ways is good. I worry about the Boston game in Boston probably the most because it's enemy territory and we know we're probably going to get a weird ref crew. And the Celtics actually just jumped over the Knicks in the Eastern Conference as of yesterday, which was interesting.
They've been playing extremely well.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown has been on an MVP level.
I'd be very obviously I want a 3-1 record, if not a 4-0 record. But if we're 2-2, I'll actually take that also if we can get 500 on this. And that's like a split with Philly and then winning Charlotte or Boston, something like that. Right. Yeah.
Did you see what happened? We got to talk about last night. There's another game that I just want to touch on for a brief moment. Do you realize that the Denver Nuggets, with no starting lineup, zero starting, I'm talking zero starting lineup, not one person in the starting lineup was on the court, went into Philly and defeated a fully stacked Philly team with Joel Embiid, Paul George, et cetera, Maxey, everybody, and defeated that team. That is one of the biggest upsets so far of the season.
Well, I would say once again, this is another instance where a team that beat the Raptors and it looked really bad New Year's Eve against the Nuggets with only one of their starters, Jamal Murray. Well, look what just happened. Exactly. It's like same thing with Brooklyn, same thing with Washington, same thing with these Charlotte. These are teams that are going above and beyond in situations, and those bad teams like Washington, Charlotte, and Brooklyn, they're getting better and they're stealing games from teams. And then Denver can get hurt, and everybody just thinks, "Oh, Jokic is out; they're going to be easy out now." No, there's a culture, there's a team, there's a next man up mentality. In some ways, they have good system and good teamwork, and it works. And I love that. I love that they beat the Sixers.
I love it too.
Because in some ways it makes our loss to them last week not look so bad. And you can say, look, they had Joel, they had Paul George, and they just lost to the Nuggets bench. The Nuggets bench.
The Nuggets bench. bench, and I'm talking deep bench, not even just a regular bench, like a deep bench. And you know what's funny? That DJ Edgecombe rookie, man, he's special. He's nice. He's really nice.
Well, we'll get to see him up close real soon, obviously.
Yeah, that's basically all I got to say. I got to reach out to you about something behind the scenes, but I won't mention it here. I'm gonna probably text you or something.
All right, Infamous. Well, I appreciate the call today, and I always enjoy hearing your observations and things you want to talk about the Raptors and the NBA.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And you have a beautiful day.
Yeah, let's go Raptors.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, cool. Infamous, the Infamous Six, once again on the show, giving us a little, observations. I think that's is really interesting that the Nuggets did beat the Sixers. Once again, everybody's going to pencil in the Sixers as being a championship contender and being all this and that just because some people are healthy. Well, I would say this. It's not like these people have played a whole lot of time together and also been successful completely when they're all together. And, you need time to gel and chemistry. I feel like these guys are hurt so often. How much gelling has Paul George really done with the Sixers? And, once again, another thing about what's happening in the league, whether it's Oklahoma City losing all of a sudden, is this a year of runs. It's a game of runs. It's a game of runs in the game, and it's a game of runs with streaks and wins and losses during the season. And, different teams are going to be surging up and falling down at different times. And sometimes it's just luck of the draw when you see people. So, Washington, that one loss last month, that was an upswing for them. Denver, even though Nikola's out, they're holding the fort and they're playing really well without him. It's interesting to see this. And right now, Sixers are kind of on an upswing, but we'll have to see when we play them. We'll have to test them. We'll have to see if they can handle the defensive intensity and teamwork of the Toronto Raptors, which may be very tough for them. I'll just say that. It may be very tough about that. That's right. Not just saying I'm talking about bus drivers all day. Bus drivers? Bus drivers? Okay. Raptors Champs is here. Good morning, Raptors Freaks and Champs. Good morning to you. Let's do the stars of the game for the game last night from my spreadsheet. Number one star of the game, Collin MurrayBoyles. I went ahead and did that. He did get the chain last night. 31 minutes for the rookie, 17 points on 8 of 10 shooting, which is phenomenal. He missed the only 3 he took. So in some ways, he was 8 of 9 from 2. That's fantastic. Not a lot of missed bunnies. And some of the skill and when Collin was making some of the shots, there was that one layup he made in a fast transition that didn't seem like he had enough time, but he's using the backboard and the rim really well and just getting up over and just really, really smart and fast. And the fact that he didn't blow some of those layups or some of those close shots he had last night shows a really high level of dexterity with holding the ball and keeping control of it strong through contact and putting it in, because he had guys coming at him and trying to stop him while he was doing that also, which was really impressive. He was 1 for 2 at the free throw line, and this may be one of the weakest areas in his game, is that he still misses free throws, and it drives me nuts. Let's just put it that way. 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks, a plus 24, the highest plus minus on the Raptors last night. The stocks are amazing, and the stocks are a thing that he shares with Scotty. 3 steals and 2 blocks, shit disturber, deflector, getting extra possessions for the Raptors, whether it's on offensive rebounds or from steals. Fantastic. And he had a couple of blocks last night where he came from behind and got like Dyson Daniels. He came from behind. They were ready to just lay it up, and Collin was sneaking up behind them and getting them. It was so awesome, man. He was so good all around. And, he's going to get some triple doubles at some point. He is. If he's going to have a 7 and 7 on rebounds and assists. Brandon Ingram is my second star of the game. We continue this fun time of watching Brandon and just relishing having this weapon on our team. I mean, I know the other guys on the team love having Brandon on the team because he makes them feel strong. He's the kind of guy. He's like that. You know what I'm saying? 35 minutes, 19 points for Brandon. See, he's the closest to get to 20, but he didn't. 8 of 14 from the field, so it's good shooting. It's just that he didn't get as many chances. There was a lot of more RJ and IQ at times in the game last night and less Brandon. 3 for 5 from 3. His 3-point shooting has come around in recent games. He's shooting way better from 3 than when he was around Christmas.
He wasn't shooting as well then. 9 rebounds. These rebounds have been fantastic by Brandon. He's putting a commitment to going to get rebounds. I'm sure there's been many, many games in his career where he got hardly any rebounds and he just scored a lot. 3 assists, 3 turnovers, 1 steal, 2 blocks, a plus 22. Yeah, big time block by Brandon at the end of the game too. And they were talking about this after the game, that Brandon's showing more and more defense. That Darko said when he came to Summer League in Vegas and saw our Summer League team, the way they were playing defense, he's like, oh man, I got to be more like this. And he really is trying to adapt the Raptors credo on defense and how they do things and make it more himself. And you can see it, man. He's got such a naturally long, athletic body that he should be able to block shots good. He should be able to go get rebounds. And he should be able to get a hand on the ball sometimes and get some steals. So it's awesome. In some ways, Brandon Ingram is getting the opportunity to explore more well-rounded game for himself at this point. And it's fun because he can still do all the stuff that he normally does as far as the shooting and the offense, but also he's going to get more of a notoriety and a reputation as a better defender from playing on the Raptors, guys. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And in some ways, for a guy who's been in the league for 10 years to have new challenges and new kind of ways to expand your game is absolutely refreshing, I'm sure, for him. Absolutely refreshing. My third star of the game, it was Scotty Barnes. Scotty solid. Scotty just being a true leader and just being honestly, he's really, I love what he's doing now because he's definitely going inside and not shying away from it. I think that in some ways him and Collin strengthen each other because they're kind of brothers at arms and they're kind of in there fighting the fight in the foxhole together. And because of that, Scotty and Collin are more willing to pay physical taxes as far as being around the basket and battling in there for rebounds and playing defense and doing all that kind of stuff. And like I said, that Rook analogy with Infamous, it's like if one of the castles is on one side and the defense gets past them, the other one could be there to block, even though the other one got beat, which is amazing. To have the luxury of having 2 players with that skill set is absolutely badass. And it really is a great thing for the future for the Raptors. You know, Scotty's getting to new levels of dominance in the league. We saw him do this crazy little flip hook in the center of the lane last night that was super confident, super money, and like it honestly looked overpowering. Like nobody could probably stop it. It had shades of Abdul-Jabbar. Let's just put it that way. It had shades of Abdul-Jabbar, just a little flip hook that he just threw in the lane, and it was money right through the net. That's the thing. Scotty's starting to make a lot more of these mid-range and close shots off the backboard, banking, also just getting nice like arc on it so that it falls in real nice. Yeah, his game is expanding, and he's becoming more and more dominant every game. And there's a couple of plays now every game where he just decides he's getting his. It doesn't matter if you're in my way. I'm going to go into the lane. I'm going to bump you, and I'm going to make my shot over you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. There's that kind of energy from Scott right now. Alpha energy, very tough energy. 37 minutes, 18 points, 8 of 16, 50%. Missed all 3 of his 3. But in some ways, that's not where he's the best. We know where he's the best. 2 for 2 at the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 10 assists. It's almost like, could he have gotten the 2 rebounds somewhere? Yeah, because rebounds are way easier to get than assists. So if Scotty could have got 2 more rebounds, he would have had a triple-double last night. 3 turnovers, a plus 7. Yeah, he didn't get any steals or blocks, but Scotty's just awesome, man. And once again, he can be either the guy who's scoring or the facilitator, or he can also be all kinds of different things on defense. The help guy, the main guy, take the hardest opponent as a defensive assignment. There's just so much utility and usefulness in a player like Scotty Barnes. And he's not like Brandon. He's not like RJ in some ways. He's a glue guy. He doesn't have to be the main scorer. And in some ways, even though he's the highest paid and he's the franchise player, that's great that he's in that position. And Collin's built in his ilk. He's a similar kind of player. And having 2 of those guys, oh my gosh, Raptors fans, I don't understand why anybody's upset right now. Seriously, y'all that are getting upset or getting all crazy about different stuff, y'all need to shut up, man. Things are so good right now. Trust me. My 4th star of the game is Grady. Grady had a perfect game last night. He finally had these moments of triumph. And in some ways, we needed it so bad. We needed it so bad. In some ways, some of us are thinking that Grady's turned the corner, that maybe Grady is back, because there were some signs of that last night. 18 minutes for Grady Dick, 11 points on 4 of 4 shooting. Did not miss last night. 2 of 2 at the three-point line. Made his only free throw. 3 rebounds, 1 turnover, 1 steal, a +2. Just really nice to see Grady make his shots. And, he's been hitting the ground. He's been very scrappy. He's been a shit disturber. He's helping, just like Scotty and Collin, to make balls get loose and transition opportunities to happen. He had a couple of steals at the top of the key, and one of them he was very successful running down and getting the ball laid in with traffic coming behind him. And then the second one he got it loose, but he didn't get it totally clean and free. But he did that 2 trips right in a row. And Darko said after the game, Grady's been playing fantastic. In some ways, he said, Grady's been getting after it. He's playing really, really well. And that stuff where they get on the floor and they get the hands on the ball just like the other team, and there's a jump ball. Man, so many jump balls last night because the Raptors were getting after it and getting hands on the ball, and Curtis Blair and them were calling jump balls. They just felt like calling a lot of jump balls. It was weird, man. My 5th star of the game is RJ. RJ had a weird game last night. He did not shoot well in the first half. He was having a hard time getting his offense going. But was he not useful because he was not making his shot? No, he was very useful. He was very dogged and competing and getting up and down the court and playing defense. We saw really RJ works so hard on defense now. He really does. Like, his defense has made a huge leap this year. Anybody who said RJ wasn't a good defender last year, well, you can't say that anymore. That guy is a good defender at this point because he's engaged, he's moving his feet, and he is moving all over the place. And the other thing I love about RJ and his defense is he has court awareness. He has the court awareness on the offensive end to stay in the right spaces and fill the spaces and get really good cutting opportunities. But on the defensive end, he's really good at kind of reading the flow and where everybody is on the court and where he needs to go to the most, whether it's stopping the ball, whether it's stopping to protect in the paint. He's going, and he's kind of like a safety and guard just in case, because other guys may not be as court aware as he is. And he's reading it all in, and he's going to the right places to help the best for the Raptors. And man, he's just such a competitor. You saw he may not have shot well in the first half, but in the second half, in the fourth quarter specifically, he's taking big time shots and making them then. He's making his threes in the fourth. He's putting the ball on the floor, and he's bully balling into the lane and getting big scores when the Hawks are shrinking our lead and making a threat to come back in the game and maybe possibly win it. RJ's taking the ball, and IQ to an extent too, because IQ didn't shoot as well either. And there were times in the game I could tell the haters were saying, oh, these Knicks guys, they keep taking too many shots and they're missing too much. I hate them. I hate them. But what do you see in the fourth quarter? 9-5 going to work. 9-5 going to work and getting scores late in the fourth that are absolutely important to keep the margin a double digit to stay above the Atlanta Hawks. So it's like, look, you guys, nobody's going to be perfect. As Darko said after the game, if Manuel Quickley was a perfect player, he'd be the MVP in the league. In some ways, he's going to have his ups and downs, but you can see the talent, and you can see the amazingness that he is a powerful weapon, and you can see that when it matters, Rowan Barrett Jr. and Emmanuel Quickley are making shots in the fourth quarter to keep us on top. So respect that. Respect that. Seriously, I've said this on the channel in the last week. He's like Fred. Fred could miss every single shot in the first 3 quarters, and then he'll make every shot that he has in the fourth and bring it home for the W. And Emmanuel Quickley's like that too. RJ, 31 minutes, 17 points, 7 of 17. Not the best shooting. He really did stink in the first half. 2 of 8 from 3. Both those threes came in the fourth quarter when it mattered. 1 for 5 at the free throw line. I hate that. I hate that. In some ways, I begrudgingly give a star to RJ. 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 turnovers, 3 steals, a +21. And RJ's competing. RJ's a heart of the team. RJ's getting in Porzingis' face. RJ is making sure the stir is strong, the straw is stirring the drink and making everything a good, healthy ecosystem on the Raptors offensively, and he's calling out and looking out on defense too. So intangibles. There's stuff that Quickly and Barrett, their stat line may not look the best in the box score, but they had intangibles, and Jack said that last night. Quickly's doing a bunch of stuff that's not going to show up on the box score that's absolutely helping this team. Absolutely. 31 minutes for Emmanuel. Honorable mention to him. 16 points on 5 of 11 shooting. That's not even that bad, guys. 5 of 11 is acceptable. 3 of 7 from 3, 3 of 4 from free throw, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, a +8 for Emmanuel Quickly. So, yeah, these guys are winning. Nobody should be complaining. Mobamba didn't play. Who cares? We won. You know, there's all kinds of stuff like that. Sandro Mamu, another honorable mention, 23 minutes off the bench, 12 points, 4 of 9 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 3 of 3 at the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, a -1. Abaji came in for 6 minutes, just really a stopgap in defense. In some ways, they were playing the starters heavy last night, and the bench minutes were not as there. 1 rebound, 1 assist, 0 points, a +6 for Oshai. Jamal Shed, a very important part in the game. He didn't score a whole lot, but like Jack said in the game, he had key moments that were absolutely catalysts and helping, like the steal and the rundown layup that he had. And then the 3-point shot that he made near the end of the shot clock, that was really, really important too. 17 minutes for a Shed, 5 points, 2 of 3, 1 of 2 from 3, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 0 turnovers, and 2 steals, a +10. So he has a winning effect, even if he's not scoring in bunches. Jamal Shed is a winner, and he has a really good effect on the team. Jacoby Walter, 12 minutes, 3 points, 1 of 5 shooting, 0 for 4 from 3, made a free throw, missed a free throw, 1 rebound, 1 block, -9. You know, just enough solid contributions in different areas from different people in different places. You know, Jacoby gets that 1 block, that's helping, even if he doesn't do a whole lot otherwise. Grady, very helpful, contributing. Sandro, helpful, contributing. Shed, helpful, contributing. And then the starters, all helpful and contributing. You got 8 players giving big impact and helping the team win. And on the other side, you got guys that maybe aren't doing as much to help overall. You know, Okongwu had a much better game in this one than Saturday, 17 and 12 for him. Jalen Johnson had a double-double with 13 points and 14 rebounds, but we really held him in check. Good defense on Jalen Johnson by Scotty and Collin and people like that. Reza Shea, he had 5 fouls for most of the game, and Quinn Snyder kept him in. And then he fouled out finally, but he was heating up a little bit in the third quarter and making some problems with coming back. We didn't come back from the halftime very well, and they kind of ate up our lead a little bit in the second half. Dyson Daniels, very active player out there, just being all over the place. Nikhil, not as good as he was on Saturday with only 14 points. And then, yeah, Porzingis, 9 points. He could have been much worse. He shot 2 for 12, guys. 2 for 12, Porzingis last night. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, just checking in on the box score with what we see right there. That's right. Seymour saying, other than Vlad TV and DJ Academics, Lex, you have been the best YouTube channel. These guys aren't in my same area of content. So I'll take that. I'll take that, Seymour. I'll take that. Vlad TV and DJ Academics. Okay, I might have to go check those channels out. Stargate saying, I hate when people try to compare Scottie to Draymond. It's a ridiculous comparison. For sure. For sure. Even Draymond thinks it's ridiculous. He thinks it's ridiculous himself. He really does. Raptors Champs is saying RJ is irreplaceable. The man has championship DNA. Even when he's struggling, he comes up with big plays. It's something like, it's not even about stats. It's something about heart. It's an intangible. It's something about like passion. It's something about compete. It's something about we are ride or dying for this team because I have a true passion for this city and this team because I grew up here and this is my hometown. And in some ways, there's a different compete when you come from that basis of energy as a professional player. And in some ways, the Raptors have never had a player of his caliber from the hometown that is showing this kind of dedication to our team. And that is so valuable. That's so valuable. And it needs to be protected. He's exactly right. This is irreplaceable because I don't know. Maybe you get SGA and comes here and he does that same kind of effect because it's just the hometown. And that could be a whole other level, obviously, because SGA is one of the top players in the league. But RJ is the most talented guy from Toronto to ever play for the Raptors, and it shows that he really cares about playing for his hometown team. It just shows. It's different. And that may be part of the reason why there's a lot of hate towards RJ, partly coming from the state of New York, is because they are seeing things out of him that they wanted from him and they never got in New York. But he's more comfortable here. In some ways, it's more natural and more passionate for him to play all out for the Raptors than the Knicks. And in some ways, people in Knicks Nation will hate that, and they will sue her and be toxic on social media spaces towards RJ Barrett for that. We got to remember that. That's right. Seymour saying, can Collin Murray-Boyles have a better career than Chris Bosh? That's tough. I mean, all right, Chris Bosh is a Hall of Famer. Chris Bosh is a 2-time NBA champion. Chris Bosh was a franchise leader for the Raptors for many years on a lot of categories. Some of his categories are not him anymore. They've been overtaken by guys since. People like Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan and Siakam and Fred and people like that. It depends on what you call successful. Sure, Chris Bosh got accolades. He got 2 championships, but he had to go somewhere else and do it with other guys that were more important. Sure, he's in the Hall of Fame. Can Collin Murray-Boyles be in the Hall of Fame? I think so. Could Collin Murray-Boyles accumulate better stats than Chris Bosh over his career? Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's going to take some luck and good health to accumulate the kind of numbers that Chris Bosh was able to put up, especially when he was on the Raptors. He got most of his stats when he played for us. So I don't know. I think that Collin's a very opposite player than Chris, too. Collin's a very lunch pail, get in your face and physical kind of guy. And Chris was a finesse big that really kind of relied on his length to do a lot of what he did. It's an interesting question. I hope he does. That's my answer. But it'll be tough because Chris Bosh has a lot of great accolades, and he did accumulate a lot of stats in his career, even if it was shortened by his medical condition. So, yeah, I like this. I would like that. Yeah, Daniel Franklin's here. Good to see Daniel. Would be awesome if Collin Murray-Boyles could be close to Barkley. I checked, and Barkley didn't play center, so Raps still need a center? No. Small ball seems to be working now, but Yak in the playoffs is probably better. Yeah, Charles never had to play center back in the day because the NBA valued bigs, and they had a glut of big 7-footers, and Charles was actually a small forward. But that's not what I don't really think Collin's true center. He's not. It's like in the NBA today, you can play a small ball center and get away with it. And it's kind of the trend of now. But the thing is, I don't think Collin should be playing center. It's absolutely right now. It's kind of like he can get away with it out there with Scotty and some of the size we already have. But for ideally, you get Yak healthy. And if you're playing Collin and Scotty and Yak, oh my gosh, nobody's getting a rebound from the other side. Nobody. So, Charles was a really prolific scorer. He was a very good offensive player immediately in the league. And that's probably the biggest difference between the two of them. And that's why some people may laugh at my comparison, say, oh, you think he's like Charles Barkley? Well, I think he's like Charles Barkley with his specs and his body and his athleticism. Not necessarily his offensive skill. His offensive skill is not exactly Barkley, but he could block shots like Barkley. He can steal the ball like Barkley, and he can rebound like Barkley. That's for sure. Now, the shooting that Barkley had, he doesn't have that. He could develop it, though, and get better and shoot more and more. But is the ultimate goal with Collin Murray-Boyles for him to be a 25-point scorer? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. In some ways, you want him to maybe be a triple-double threat every game. That's what I would say. A triple-double threat. And similar to Scott. And maybe one of these guys that averages around 18, 19 points a game and gets like 12 rebounds and almost 10 assists. It's interesting. It's interesting. You checked out Barkley. Yeah, he didn't play center, but he was strong enough to play center, and that's what Collin is too. Yeah, Seymour saying RJ made Cam Reddish and Zion Williamson out of Duke. Yeah, man. I know that RJ's probably got weird feelings about his friend Zion as far as RJ's so different than Zion. He works so hard, and he really is trying to be the best professional he can be. But Zion's failing. He's I don't know what the hell he's doing. And in some ways, RJ's just got to kind of wipe his hands and say, look, it's you, man. It's your life. You just do your thing. In some ways, it's probably heartbreaking to RJ to an extent to see his friend Williamson, go through so much in his NBA career and not get there. But RJ's definitely not wasting his NBA career, and he's definitely taking advantage of all the opportunities given him. That's for sure. That's for sure. Stargate saying, shows downtown. Lex, are you a thespian? I'm not a thespian. I'm a comedy writer. I went to Second City and I studied writing sketches and also putting on improv shows. And there was a period, I used to have a company called Instant Cult Classic Productions, and we would put on a show once a week at least. If not, sometimes we were doing like 3 or 4 shows a week at our heyday. And we were doing like shows at the Social Capital Theater on Danforth. We do shows at Second City in the John Candy Box Theater. We do shows at Comedy Bar. We do shows all over Toronto downtown. And Gerald, Naco the Nacho, was in the writing group with me. He was part of my shows. Gerald was involved in that, Naco. He performed in my shows. He's a comedian and a writer himself. So, yeah, that's what it is. I did appear in Fringe Festival as an actor, Toronto Fringe. A few years back, I had a bit part in a play by my clown mentor, Alan Turner, that I played a clone in an alternate universe of him, which was weird, but it was really cool because my parents came up from the States and my grandmother was still in a position where she could leave the house and go out, and she saw me perform on stage at Toronto Fringe. You know, she's 103 now, but she got to see me while she was able to get out of the retirement home and come down and actually watch me, which was fantastic. So I do have that credit of appearing in a Toronto Fringe stage show. So yeah. I am technically a thespian too. I did a lot of acting when I was a kid. Like I used to be in community theater and I'd actually sing in front of the audience and they pay money. And I've done a lot of acting over the years, a lot of acting, mostly on stage. We did make a music video once. We did all kinds of goofy stuff with that company. It was a lot of fun. Gerald was in that music video too, I think. He was involved in it, I think. Let's see. Blackhawks got the Owls this morning. I like that. Mischief's here. Good to see the baseman. Did Collin Murray-Boyles get the chain? Yes, he did. He did get the chain last night. Grady is on fire. It's really good to see Grady make his threes. All Grady's threes came from inside out. That's part of it right there. Raptors are taking third place soon. Charlotte blew out Oklahoma City on the road by 30. Yeah, I love this. Knicks fans are still circling back and trying to write crap on my comments saying, I told y'all we would be above you. Well, you may not be. You know, you did lose last night, and we won, and we're coming closer to y'all. So, yeah, we're still trying to beat. I want to leapfrog either you or the Celtics. I don't want to be in third. I want to be in first or second in the Atlantic Division. So one of y'all got to get underneath us, and one of y'all will. Trust me. We're coming like that. We're coming up like that. I believe this. Yeah, Raptors champ saying Collin did get the chain. That's right. Daniel's saying standings-wise, 2, 3, and 4, Boston, New York, and Toronto are 1-game difference. Raptors, now that RJ's back, Raptors could be 2 soon. Yeah, and then you add Yak, too. The news is really good about Jakob Poeltl. He's ready to practice, and he's feeling a lot better. So we could see Yak back in a matter of days. He may not be back for Charlotte tomorrow, but I could see him maybe being back for the Boston game against the Celtics on Friday night. Yeah, because he's ramping up, and he's cleared, and he's physically feeling good. So Poeltl's on his way back, guys. He's on his way back. That's what we're hearing right now. And this is an interesting thing. Like, you look at the Eastern standings, and you got 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the Eastern Conference are all Atlantic Division teams right now, with the Sixers right behind us. So you got Boston, New York, Toronto, and Philly all within each other. Like, how many games are in between all those teams right now? Let's see. It's crazy. There's only like 3.5 games between all those teams. Those teams right there. Boston's 3.5 back from Detroit. New York's 4. We're 5.5, and the Philly's 7 games back. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's so jammed up, and the Atlantic Division itself is dominating the Eastern Conference right now, and we're a part of that. We're a part of that for sure. That's right. Kaz is here. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Free Crew. Good morning to you, Trucker Kaz. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. Let me go look at the box score again for the team stats from the game last night, and we'll see where the Raptors dominated the Hawks and won. We didn't have the best fourth quarter where we shut them down to 12 points, but we did outscore them by 5 in the fourth quarter. We did beat them in all 4 quarters last night, outscoring them in each frame. We shot 52%, which is fantastic. We haven't been shooting the best over the course of the last couple of weeks, and we've still been finding ways to win, which is crazy. But the shooting percentage goes up when we share the ball and we move the ball around and we actually look for high percentage shots instead of just lazily jacking threes all over the place. You see that they're a little bit more responsible with when they're shooting the threes and they are trying to work it inside. What did we see at the very beginning of the game? RJ attacked the rim and got an and one. He didn't take a three to start. He drove to the lane. He finished the layup and he got a free throw on the first play. He got respect from the refs and set the tone and got us the line. And you know what happened after that? For the rest of the game, the Raptors were in the bonus and getting a lot more free throws than the Hawks because in some ways, RJ set that tone of aggressiveness right off the start, going to the lane and getting a layup laid in and one right away. But he missed the free throw, of course. The 3-point shots, they both made 12. So pretty even there. The free throws, we did not shoot well, and that was RJ, a lot of it. 63% at the free throw line, 12 of 19, which is too bad. The rebounds were even, which is interesting. I think that may be in the Porzingis effect that Kristaps was back. So it kind of evened out the rebounds because we really out-rebounded them on Saturday. We really did. Assist to turnover check. Atlanta, 28 assists with 15 turnovers, so not exactly 2-1. But we got 34 assists with 15 turnovers. So over 2-1 ratio for us. That's always a good indicator. 5 blocks for us was a big time with 10 steals. Fast break points, we doubled them up. 29 fast break points for the Raptors, 16 for Atlanta. And then a plus 20 in the points in the paint. We dominated them inside, 64 points in the paint last night. So just some really, really good stuff, man. Really, really good stuff. We led the game from the start all the way to the end. All the way to the end. And that's the way we like to see it on the box score. That's right. Mr. Quasimodo's in the house. Let's see what he's saying. I remember Trae Young being a problem during the pandemic. Divide. Yeah, dude was so integral to the Hawks. Yeah, he's been their franchise player, but like I said, he's not a failed. He's a dud for winning championships. And in some ways, if you want a player that can score a lot and do what he does, you can do that. But you don't have real championship aspirations, honestly. That's the whole thing that people need to realize is you can have a very talented player that's so good and score like crazy, but they are not ever going to win a championship. And in fact, they're going to get in your way. I know I keep saying this the last couple of days, but it's just true. It's just true. That's a big part of it. Randolph's here. Good morning, Randolph. Blessings, beloved Raptor Freaks family. Everyone and everything is not independent without something or someone to depend on. A fruit on a branch, a river and its source. This is interesting. So this is a little bit different than Trevor's words of wisdom, kind of the opposite. I think that this is true also. In some ways, it's good to be autonomous and independent and be able to take care of yourself and do the things that you need to do to fulfill your life. But there's also community. There's also knowing when to say, I need help, or knowing when to reach out and say, hey, let's band together and strengthen numbers, because that kind of stuff's important too, especially going to be important in the near future. So community is an aspect of strength, and we all need to, in every corner of where we live, is reach out and strengthen those bonds into your community. I'm telling you, we need to do this as soon as possible. Get to know the people around you, get to know each other's skills. And because if things change drastically quickly, you'll want to be able to get organized fast if you have to. So there is strength in numbers, and it is important. This needs this to be this. Independence is great, and you do need a certain level of independence, but community is also very strong and important too. Blessings to the Phillips family and all the Raptor Freak families. Thank you, Randolph. Thank you. Shaq Lindsay's here. Let's see what he has to say. He was at the game last night, so I want to know what happened with they showed Nikhil's mother on TV a couple times last night, didn't they? Yeah, I want to know how your experience went last night. He's saying Collin Murray-Boyles is for real. For all you doubters, the man offers more to our team than a queen or a common. Collin is Scotty's Padawan. This is interesting. So he's saying forget about Malawatch, which we all pretty much have already. But Queen is interesting because Queen has been absolutely fantastic for the Pelicans, and they're trying to say he's the new Jokic in New Orleans. This is interesting, but you're saying he's even better than Queen and any of them. I think you're right. This man saw him up close last night. So he sees the intricate details in the middle of the lane with the hands and the placement and the strength and the creating of space and the explosiveness and everything, the IQ of Collin Murray-Boyles. And that's interesting. So you're saying this, Shaq has just declared this. I'm going to get with him on this. I think that Jack said in the broadcast last night that Collin at the place where he was drafted by the Raptors this year looks real good. Looks real good. Number 9. That in some ways that pick is going to age really, really well and look really good, just like Jalen Johnson at 20 for the Hawks. So, yeah, he said that he could have been higher than 9 the way he's playing these days. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, Mr. Quasimodo already read that. Daniel's saying this, not seeing Mo Bamba play minutes is disappointing, but I hope he's getting practice minutes so they can see if he's a keeper or not. Yeah, that's definitely happening. I'll say this. If there's any signs that things are going well with Mo Bamba, it's the big cheesy smile he has on the bench. Seriously, if we ain't going to get the information from practice, if we can't be that fly on the wall, and we're not seeing him in the games, well, how are things going with Mo Bamba? Is he looking upset? Is he looking somber? Is he looking a little confused and not confident? Nope. He has a big, huge smile on his face on the bench, and he's enjoying seeing the team he's on all of a sudden win. And in some ways, he's a team guy. And you see him in the team photos after the game, and he's smiling, big, cheesy smile. So I think the signs are pointing to that Bamba is feeling like he's going to stick around. Because if he was feeling like he's not fitting in, and this deadline's coming up, the 9th or the 10th, right? They got to figure him out in the next 4 days, whether they want to keep him for the rest of the year. If Bamba was feeling like he was on the outs and it wasn't working out, he wouldn't be smiling like that, right? That's what you got to do sometimes. You got to logic things and look from the outside to kind of figure it out from there. So I'm thinking I may be wrong, and maybe he's just a smiley guy and he's still getting cut. But the signs are looking good as far as his demeanor. I would say that. The signs are looking good as far as his demeanor. I mean, I thought he could have been used against the Hawks because of people like Okongwu and Porzingis, but Darko didn't feel like he needed him. And in some ways, it's very intriguing because, like, we just cried all season to get another big, and we got Mo Bamba, but we're not absolutely using him. And Yak isn't totally back, and the Raptors are not struggling for rebounds anymore. What's going on here? In some ways, this is what Darko wanted the Raptors to do, was even if Yak is out or we don't have a true center, I want y'all to go do the job anyway. Because maybe he knew that this tag team of Murray-Boyles and Barnes would be able to suffice to take care of this stuff, because that's kind of what's been happening right now. I mean, you add in RJ too, and then a more active Brandon Ingram trying to get boards too. And the team rebounding for the Raptors has gotten way better just in the last couple of weeks. Some of it is like Collin showing who he truly is and telling on himself, like they say Dwayne Casey used to say, you told on yourself, Collin. Now we're going to expect you to do this over and over again, getting those offensive rebounds. And Scotty too has leveled up just in the last couple of weeks as a new level of player in dominance and as an all-NBA, all-star kind of player. And those things are coinciding with this. This is like Mo Bamba is not going to be the end-all, be-all solution to save us. No, we don't need him to save us. We don't even need Jakob to come back and save us at this point, because these guys are figuring this out with Murray-Boyles and Barnes all of a sudden. Now, when we go against super big teams, we've already beat Cleveland, beat the dust out of them, and in some ways they're the biggest team in the East sometimes. When we play more of the Western teams, especially on this West Coast road trip we're going to do at the end of this month, we'll see tests against bigger lineups, and it'll be nice to have Yak around at that point, because we probably will need him against people like Zubac and stuff like that, because we've had Vika Zubac absolutely run rampant on us, and they got Brook Lopez too, so they could come out with a double big lineup, and that may really dwarf Murray-Boyles and Barnes and make them not as effective at what they've been doing recently. So, everybody, I don't want anybody to think that Jakob Poeltl is expendable just because we're finally rebounding okay without him involved, because he's a very important player to our team, and he helps so much. But yeah, Mo Bamba is insurance, man. Mo Bamba is just a safety net. And if we need him, he's there. in some ways, hopefully he'll become more part of the rotation as the season goes on because he sticks. We'll just have to see. But there's no guarantees. And remember, when he's been on NBA teams in recent years, he has not played. He's been stuck at the end of the bench just like he is right now. And he's been just a break-in in case emergency, long-armed shot blocker and rebounder, and not necessarily a regular rotation player. He wasn't that way in Philly when Nick had him, and I don't think he was that way at the last stop he was in before he took off and went to the G League. So he has to earn his way. He's got to learn, and he should be all right then. Kespero's here. Good to see Kespero back in, the fact checker. Good to see him. What was the point of having KP coming off the bench instead of starting him? Were they trying to hold the bench scoring to 0 and hoping our starters have a bad shooting night? Well, I mean, once again, just because Porzingis is a certain type of player doesn't mean that he's helpful to the team in certain ways. And I think what's happened is Kristaps is really not a personable person. In some ways, he's a tough teammate to have. He's not like somebody that you want to become friends with. You are around him in the locker room. It's kind of like he just has his own life and he's not trying to be integrated with the other people. In some ways, he's just doing his thing. Now, he didn't really fit in with the Celtics, and they won a championship, and they discarded him. And they say, yeah, he's expendable. We don't need him for the next chapter of Celtics basketball. That's a telltale sign right there. Kristaps is 7'4", and he's an amazing body, an amazing shot blocker, and he has a lot of skills, but he's not a very good team player. He never has been his whole entire career. He's never really fit in at any of the spots that he was at. And he even won a championship with the Celtics. He didn't fit in New York in the beginning. He didn't fit in with Luka in Dallas. He was weird in Washington. And now on this team with Atlanta, the thought of having Porzingis on your team as a force and who he is, well, the reality of it is who he is. And in some ways, him coming off the bench may have been partly because he's been hurt. But he's also lost that starting job to Okongwu. And Okongwu is more of a team player. Okongwu plays more within the set with other people. So it's stuff like that. And like him being hurt, maybe they're not ready to put him right back in the starting lineup right away, or if he's even going to get back in the starting lineup again for the rest of the year. He's not, Trae Young's not the only one in trade rumors right now out of Atlanta, just so you know. Porzingis' name is getting thrown around too. In fact, the deal that would send Anthony Davis to Atlanta, it has Porzingis going back to Dallas. So, yeah, they're not valuing him either, just as much as Trae Young. And so you got these two guys. They're, very top-level players in the NBA, big names, Porzingis and Trae Young, and neither one of them are really wanted on Atlanta right now. Yeah, it's crazy because, Porzingis seems like he'd be a very valuable player. There's something wrong there. I don't think he's ever gotten along with any of the teams he's ever been on. Seymour's saying Clippers putting more money into the product. They now have Snoop Dogg calling games, and his interview with Kawhi was hilarious. What? I didn't know this, that Snoop Dogg's been hired by Steve Ballmer to do things for the Clippers. That's weird, man. I'll bet that's funny. I need to see this clip. Trevor, go get this clip and put it in the Discord, please. I need to see this Snoop Dogg Kawhi Leonard interview right away. See, we're saying, okay, yeah, that's what I just read. Shaq Lindsay saying, Lex, with all due respect, I have to disagree. I think you're greatly underestimating his role on the team. Yes, I do agree that there is a pecking order, but Collin, although a rookie, his role has been more. What are you saying you disagree about? Which point? Be specific. The only thing I said earlier about Collin is he's not getting plays called for him this year. And it's because Darko doesn't do that for rookies. Most coaches don't. Most coaches don't. The rookie year is an exploratory year to just see how you sink or swim in the NBA and where you are successful and where you may need to work on stuff. It's very rare that a player comes into the league and they become like a focal point in the offense where they're getting play sets centered around them. It's usually if you're somebody like LeBron or something like that. So, I don't know what's going to happen with Collin. I don't know what his ceiling is. I'm glad he's on our team, and I'm glad we're the ones developing him and getting the spoils from who he could be. I'm not totally sure what you mean where you're disagreeing with me. You disagree that he's like Draymond? Because I hate that comparison. That's just opinion in some ways. That's not a fact or anything. So you guys can have that opinion if you want. I have a very different opinion about a comparison between Draymond Green and Collin Murray-Boyles. I do. So I don't know. You have to elaborate what you're disagreeing with me on this. I'm greatly underestimating his role on this team. I don't think so. I think that he's a rookie and he's ahead. I think that's what it is. I think he's a rookie and he's ahead. He could have had way more stumbling blocks and way more of a learning curve so far, but he hasn't. And that's fantastic. That really bodes well. But, it could be like these other guys on the team. He can have a sophomore slump next year. And like some other people said on this channel already, teams will find out about you and they'll scheme for you. And then you have to adjust and learn that whole kind of way with that. Right now, people are not necessarily looking at Collin in this way or that way and trying to do things to him. They're just letting him play and they're discovering about him. So I don't know. I think Collin's got a real potential to grow in all kinds of different directions. I love this. As Darko said this after the game too. He said, we tend to put players in a box and kind of just like say, this is who you are. So just keep being this. But Darko has this attitude with Collin and Scotty that it's like, look, you guys be whoever you can be. And if it changes, if the idea of who you are isn't even exactly who you thought it was, exactly with Scott, that's actually happened with Scotty. He's not the player he thought he would be right now in his 5th year. Collin could go into different areas in offense and broaden his game in a whole other realm. That's absolutely possible. I could see that. I don't know. I don't want to cloud this situation. The pecking order is he's a rookie. His role is exactly what it should be right now. In some ways, I didn't totally agree with throwing him into the starting lineup as early as they did this season, but it worked out and he was fine. He didn't sink. He swam. So, I don't know exactly what you mean. Maybe fine tune where you see a difference with what I see and you see, let's see. I don't agree with giving younger players seniority over senior players just because they seem like they're more talented right away. I hate that. I really do believe that part of the problem with the NBA these days is that they let young players supersede older players too quickly, and they do not learn the game correctly that way, and that there is a proper order to things, and seniority matters in the NBA. And I think that it's a very special case when a rookie or a young player comes in and they're absolutely the top role on the team. I think that there should be seniority because the NBA is something you need to learn and respect. And you can't, even if you're a hot shot and you come in and you have a really good rookie season, it doesn't mean you're all that. And don't get all cocky because you got lessons you're going to learn still. And even like recently, a good example was Scott. The other day, Scotty had a layup in a game where he should have made the layup, but he flubbed it. He missed it. You know why? Because he spent all these times doing these look backs. They're absolutely reprehensible to me as a basketball purist. And I said over and over again, Scotty, you keep doing these look backs, you're going to pay for it. And it's not going to be good. Well, it kind of happened in a recent game where he flubbed a layup partly because of his poor habit of doing his cocky little look back whenever he's about to do a dunk. There was a timing with the fast break where he was going to be able to get to the basket, but he didn't have enough time. But he wanted to look back. He has the predisposition, the habit of doing this stupid look back thing when he has a fast break dunk. Well, he had a split second to make that shot when the defender was coming behind him. He heard the footsteps, but he still had that habit to try and look back and see if he could still look back. And he missed the layup. That's why it's like, look, you can have all the talent in the world. You need to learn how to play the game properly and not do stupid shit like that because the league will mess you up for doing stupid shit like that. And, Collin's doing great. He's fundamentally very, very good, but you grow into your role and there is a pecking order and seniority matters. That's what I say to that there. Yeah. Stargate's saying really happy for Grady. I like the way he has been getting in on defense lately, poking away. Getting on the floor and mixing it up. He's playing well. That's the sign that Grady's engaged and he's playing the way he should be. He has to play for his career, man. In some ways, he doesn't want to get bounced out of the league early and not have a full NBA career. So the only way you stay in the league is you work your ass off, Grady. And that is energy and busting your ass to get after it. And you've been doing that recently, and that's good because that's the key. Your shots aren't always going to fall, but if you have that effort every single time, you'll be fine. That's the key right there. That's right. Daniel saying, Kespera, I think KP is coming back from an injury, something with his heart, so slow and steady. Yeah, that's part of it. And also, I think he was already benched before that, and they just decided it was a better look with Okongwu. In some ways, old pecking orders were disrupted in Atlanta for what the winning formula was. And that's Trae Young is not part of the winning formula. And in some ways, Porzingis is not either. And they have a better chemistry with the starting five they've been playing with Nickel and Okongwu out there instead. And that's if what's working is working, do it. That's the way you do it, right? That's what it is. Yeah. Raptors Champs is saying Darko is getting much better calling timeouts. He wasn't always like that, but he is also growing as a coach. Actually, I disagree. He's had this pretty much since the beginning with us. It's just that a lot of the situations in the before was like stop the bleeding when it's really bad because we're losing a lot and a worse team. The first 2 years, there were times where he would call the timeout, but it was futile because we're going to lose to that team anyway. It's just we're winning more, and you see it now, and it makes more sense because we're winning, and you can see how it's game to help us win. But before, if we're losing a lot of games, he was calling these timeouts to stop runs all along. It's just that we were, not as good as the other teams, and we were losing a lot. So I get where it seems like you just seen this, and he is getting better as a coach overall in a lot of different areas, but this timeout thing has been consistent pretty much the whole time he's been with us, 2.5 years now. Yeah. Good game saying this. BBBBQ Hawk Wings, 4B's sauce featuring Brandon, Barnes, Barrett, Boyles, IQ with a dash of Grady and Shed. I've been calling the starting lineup that we do right now the Notorious Barbecue Combo because people are really into this combo nickname for Collin, which I don't think is bad. And then you just do the BBQ, Barrett, Barnes, and Quickly, and it's notorious. It's a notorious barbecue combo. Maybe it's a combo at a barbecue restaurant in downtown Toronto where you get a drink and some fries, and you get a little slice of pie with the barbecue too. I don't know. The notorious barbecue combo. That's what I've been calling that starting lineup the last 2 games. Yeah. Randolph saying, Lex, hearing about Porzingis' heart condition last night makes me wonder why he's not placed on the fitness to play list. Is it because he's not a Raptor? This is interesting. Yeah, I guess I kind of didn't hear the whole part about his heart thing you guys keep bringing up. Yeah, that's fishy. It seems like if he has some sort of risk, the fitness to play panel may be wanting to say, hey, he can't play for you right now. This is weird. This is fishy. The fitness to play panel is a couple of doctors. They're basically like 3 doctors that are independent of the NBA, and they give their opinions, and they all have to rule together on things to have it happen. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I knew more about this shadowy organization called the Fitness to Play Panel. This does seem like a situation where, for the precautionary of the health of Porzingis, they should not be allowing him to play. Or maybe this is all just bullshit in the first place, and some sort of weird shadow grab to take away from teams like ours. Yeah, I wonder. That's a really good point, Randolph. Why is Porzingis not with the Fitness to Play panel right now? If they checked him out and they go, oh, no, he's fine. What is this? What is this? This is very weird, man. It's very weird. This is a good point. Shaq Lindsay saying this, defined on the team in comparison to our other players like Dick, Jacoby, and Oshai. Oh, you mean his role? Well, this is the thing. He's a higher draft pick than those guys. And in some ways, he has a higher ceiling than those guys. Collin's a starter. He's not going to probably be a bench player for very long in his career. He's going to probably end up being a starter at some point. But how that fits with our current starting lineup and everything, we'll just have to see how that all works out over time. But yeah, he's a definite guy who could be a starter in his career in the NBA for sure. For sure. He's got that those skill set. He's a better player than those guys. Yeah. If that's what your point is, sure. But he's not a better player than the starting 5 right now. The starting 5 are better players than him. So he's somewhere in between the bench guys and the starters. Collin Murray-Boyles. That's right. Mr. Quasimodo saying kind of off topic, but I'm worried about Nick Nurse in Philly. Did you see how they flopped the buzzer beater? Yeah, I don't care, man. We have our we have our history with Nick and history with the Philadelphia 76ers. And every time we play them, it's a battle. And it's just going to be, let's compete and let's see if we can be better than them. I'm not worried because in some ways we've got a couple things in our advantage. We're a better team than them. And I mean, like, as far as we play as a team better than them. They can have all the talent on paper with Joel and Powell and Tyrese and VJ, but that doesn't mean that stacks up better than our talent. Because if our talent is more connected and more dependable at working off each other, we'll beat them. Because some of the pattern when we play the Sixers in the last couple of years since Nick has been their coach is that we beat them on teamwork. And they may be more talented than us, but because we play better as a team collectively, we beat them. And it's usually because of defensive teamwork. And if it can be offensive passing teamwork, that's fantastic too. So, I mean, in some ways, we've got advantages over the Sixers. And who's to say that one of those guys that are back won't be hurt by the time we actually see them in a week from now? I mean, it's like that. Joel could be hurt all of a sudden and out for the rest of the season just in the next few days. And it's like that totally changes their team. So, I mean, it's good to take them very seriously and kind of like be, very respectful of the possibilities of the Sixers. But also at the same time, don't be afraid of them. Let's kick their ass and let's beat their coach. That's what I say to that. Yeah. Yeah. Daniel's saying good game plus Sandro. Yeah, Sandro. Kesper's saying it, Daniel, true. I forget about his health issues. Looks like this trade was way too overhyped and ended up being an AD Mavs scenario. Yeah, last summer, the way that everybody glazed the Hawks in their free agency, I was like, okay, go ahead. Look at all these names. Look at all this. But do they work on paper? Are they going to gel as a team? They don't have any time together. And, well, Trae Young seems like he has one leg out the door on his way out. So it's like they're the beginning of a rebuild, and they haven't even really started it until Trae Young leaves. And I was like, I took it very like insulting that everybody's sleeping on Brandon Ingram added to the Raptors and talking so much about the Hawks winning free agency last summer. It was so annoying. And we see the reality of it now at this point in the season. Yeah. G's saying, yes, Daniel, with a good pinch of Mamu. Okay. Stargate saying, exactly. Why isn't KP being placed on the fitness to play panel? I did. Yeah, I'm wondering about that. Yeah, I'm wondering about that too. It's kind of weird, man. It's kind of weird. It's like they pick and choose or something like that. It's like that. Yeah. Shaq Lindsay saying, I didn't mean that. Okay. Elaborate, man. I don't mind. I want to know more about the game too, man. Like, how close were you? And did you get in trouble for rooting for the Raptors? Mr. Quasimodo is saying congrats to Ingram's engagement. There's still speculation about whether that's true or not. There's been like three times this season that they've shown Glorilla with a ring and saying that they got engaged. Like they said this in like October. There was a point where they had a picture of her. I don't know if this is true. There's some speculation because we were talking about in the Discord. Fiercey says that that's not the right finger. And that doesn't look like an engagement ring. And that some people are just jumping to conclusions and posting it on there and saying, oh, they're engaged and stuff like that. Maybe it's true. I don't know. But there was an engagement rumor about them being engaged all the way back like 3 months ago. And I don't think it was true then. So maybe it's true now. I have no idea. Either way, congratulations to Brandon and Glorilla on their ever-growing love and good times and being together. She's been very dedicated to coming to Raptors games and has been there pretty much every game when they play in Toronto. And even on the road, I think she's traveling around with them too. So either way, if they did get engaged, congratulations. If not, I'll say congratulations anyway, because it seems like they're very happy together. And he seems like he's playing well with her influence in his life. So that's good. That's good. Just let the man sleep. That's what I'm saying. Just let him sleep. Fiercey saying on another topic, I've started following the Unrivaled League and watched a few games, highly competitive, and we see skills from players we could not fully experience when they play 5 versus 5 in WNBA. Yeah, okay, so the Unrivaled League is in effect right now, and that's the WNBA like 3 versus 3 league or something like that. That's cool. It's very cool. I've never watched it ever, but this would be the time that they'd be playing because it's the off season for WNBA, and they got to get that done now. In some ways, this may be part of the reason why the WNBA players are not so quick to make an easy agreement with the owners and the collective bargaining, because they're like, hey, we have an alternative. If you guys are going to screw around with us, maybe we'll just go full on unrivaled and ABA your asses. Seriously. Because that is something that, Adam Silver and the WNBA should maybe think about, is that there does seem to be an alternative for women's professional basketball players to make money doing something else. Yeah. Shaq Lindsay saying, instead of trading Trey, they need to send Christina to the G League, because I know the WNBA don't want him. That man is way too soft for a 7-footer. That's hilarious. Shaq Lindsay going in on Kristaps. You saw the saltiness of Kristaps Porzingis up close last night. And just how pissy he gets. Really pissy. A lot of talking with the refs last night. A lot of talking. Stargate saying Brandon's been blocking a lot of shots lately. Yeah. And late in the game, too. It's fun. He should be able to do that. He's got that length. And it's cool to see him put the effort into it and seeing the results. He's been absolutely fantastic as a defensive player lately. And I'm sure he's enjoying having that aspect come out more and more. Yeah, I'm sure he is. Randolph saying, Lex and fellow freaks, I thought Trae Young was staying in Toronto last night. His movement was like a player who knew he was being traded right there to Toronto. He needed to just sit down. Oh, fuck that. No, Randolph. No, we can't. Don't say that. Don't even speak that into existence. You're not coming to Toronto. He's man, it's so toxic having him sitting around the bench and goofing around. And who knows what kind of stupid stuff he's saying. There was a point where they showed him at the end of the bench sitting next to the female Atlanta Hawks security guard. And Caleb Houston and Dyson Daniels were sitting next to him. And he said something. And Caleb Houston made a face like this. Like, I'm telling you, in some ways, he's worn out his welcome. He's not the leader on that team anymore. And it's just a weird, uncomfortable situation where he's just lingering around. And it could very well be a lot of the younger players on the Hawks don't want anything to do with Trae Young at this point. It's a really weird situation. I'm actually shocked. I think he was in town just because he loves Toronto. He wanted to come on the trip just because he wanted to go out and do things in Toronto while the team's up here. It's not necessarily that he's like this or this. If you're reading that energy, it may be that he's trying to go to Soto or do some fun stuff in the nightlife of Toronto, and not necessarily for our team. I hope not, because he is somebody I do not want on the Toronto Raptors. No, I don't. Shaq Lindsay saying Collin Murray-Boyles is not just a hustle player. He's very skilled. Let's not underappreciate his talent and his role on the team. Well, I'm only talking now, Shaq Lindsay. We're talking present. You're projecting into future realms, and there's no guarantees on those. I could start talking about how he's going to be an amazing offensive player and he's going to do all this and all that, but none of that's for sure. And none of that is totally defined because we don't really see play sets for him yet. Sure, I'll say that he's a very skilled player. Sure, I don't think he's just a hustle player. I'll agree with all that. But I have to say also, I'm talking about what he is right this moment and not on the promise of what he could be. That's what I'm saying. And that's all in good time. That's all in good time. We'll just have to see the route of development that he goes down and what areas are going to become his bread and butter and his signature. And some of it looks like it will very much be post play with his back to the basket and muscling people around and making really easy shots close to the basket, like Scott has been doing recently. So, no, I don't think he's a regular role player. I do think he's a very, very skilled player. I agree with you on that. It's just all in good time. Let's not get ahead of ourselves and put too much on who he is before he actually is that yet, because he's not totally all that yet. He's not. G saying Vision 6'9", Vision highball IQ. There you go. I like that. Mr. Quasimodo saying the Celtics snapped. Okay. Mo Bamba officially waived. Is that what you're hearing this morning? Let me see. Holy crap. This may be true. Let's see. Because Yak is back, I'll bet. Okay, here we go. All right. Josh Lundberg has reported 17 minutes ago that Mo Bamba's contract would have become fully guaranteed for the remainder of the season if he wasn't waived by tomorrow. Hence the timing. The Raptors can and likely will bring him back on a 10-day once he clears waivers later this week. So interesting. They just don't want him full term. They want him temporarily as a stopgap. And it's really kind of timing with Jakob's presence and his availability. So they waived Mo Bamba this morning. They waived him for his year contract that he signed. but this clears him, and we can do 10 days with him. Okay. Doug Smith is saying also on this subject, as was always the plan, the Raptors waived Mo Bamba this morning before his contract was guaranteed and may bring him back tomorrow on a 10-day deal tomorrow, or they may find another 10-day guy. So that's interesting, guys. Very, very interesting. Okay. So that's official. Mo Bamba is waived, and there's no guarantees he's coming back. And some people may get all bent out of shape about this. What was the whole point of this? Casuals. KT saying this. Thanks for putting respect on my second team. Nuggets are going through it right now. Well, that's a testament to their franchise and the coach and next man up. That's what that is right there. Mr. Quasimodo is saying this. I don't like what that did with Maxey before OT. I don't watch the game, so I can't tell you. I wouldn't know. Raptors Champs is saying Collin Murray-Boyles' soft touch around the rim is his game. We get flashes. Consistency will come with confidence. An amazing player. Yeah, he's a hard worker. I like what he said after the game, too. He's like, if I'm not out of breath and totally like exhausted, I didn't do enough on the court. That's the kind of player you want on your team. That right there. That's right. Shaq Lindsay saying, great game, great seats, great win, but I kept it composed. Okay, so he didn't get all crazy. He was feeling it inside. I'm sure he was giddy inside, but he had to act cool. He had to be cool about it because of his company was on the tickets of Alexander Walker and the family. Yeah, okay. Seems like you handled it right, and you got what you wanted, too. You got to go to the game, see a great game, and you got to see a Raptors win, which is what we wanted on the download. That's right. Yeah, Chris comes saying, Mo Bamba cut? Damn. I really like the idea of having an athletic 7-footer. He must have been terrible at practice to get cut. No, let's not infer that. I think that what the reporters are saying, that there is a plan to keep him around, but it's just not going to be on the long-term, guaranteed rest of the year contract. It's just he gets cut today, and then we can sign him to 10 days and just keep him on that way. And, that leaves things open to keep him for the whole rest of the year if there are developments to keep him going towards us. So we'll just have to see. I know there's going to be a lot of overreacting by people around Raptors Nation to this news, and it's going to be silly. Some of it is going to be so dumb. so dumb. Yeah. Neil's saying this. We can go big or we can go small. What a wonderful position to be in. Bring on the Celtics. With that last roster position, I'd like it to be a big still. And if it's Mo Bamba just coming right back, that's great. But maybe there is somebody else that they could plop in that 10-day contract instead. Maybe somebody like David Roddy, or maybe somebody like Julian Reese. We'll just have to see. This is good for the 905 guys. If Mo Bamba isn't going to be the 10-day guy, because there's going to be 10-day guys that are going to come through with that open roster spot, and some of them could be 905 guys getting rewarded. They did that thing with Eugenio Maroy a couple of years ago where they gave him extra pay for the year, and they didn't even play him on the Raptors. They just wanted to bring him up for the 10-day to give him enhanced pay for his job that he did for the Raptors franchise that year. So, yeah. Let's see. Shaq Lindsay saying, no bum, bye-bye. That seems mean. Daniel saying, wow, I wanted Mo Bamba to work out. He may still. Let's not overreact to this. Like they're saying, he may be signed right back tomorrow, but on a 10-day and just for 10 days while Jakob's out. We'll just have to see. No Mo Bamba Tuesdays. Okay, Comma Crazy. No Mo Bamba Tuesdays. All right, I'm going to give Comma Crazy a dunk just for being silly. That is really silly. That's a silly joke right there. All right, so Comma Crazy, where is he? That's funny. All right, 3 for you on the dunk charts right there. 3 for Comma Crazy. I said 3 for Mo Bamba. What? All right, let's see. Wayne's saying this. Morning, Raptor Freaks. I still think we're all number 5 or 6 team. No, we're better than that. We're 4. But I can't name who is a legitimate 4 aside from us, so I have to adjust. We are a 4. I like that. Legitimately, it may actually vie for 3. Yes, we are. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The goal right now is to try and leapfrog the Knicks or the Celtics in the near future and be a top 3 team. Why not? Although Darko's not looking at any of that. He's not paying attention. Reggie's saying this. That's too bad regarding Mo Bamba. Maybe he wasn't as engaged as we thought. I feel stupid because I just seen it talking about him being smiley and all that kind of stuff, seeming like he's happy. Well, maybe he's still happy because he understands, because they told him, we're going to cut you. but we're going to sign you a 10-day the next day, and you're going to still be around. You still have a chance. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing to read. I would say not to overreact to the news of his waiving this morning. Really don't overreact to it. Yeah. Daniel's saying this, though. Get ready for Raps Nation to start calling for a Day'Ron Sharpe trade now, which is fine with me. You know what I'm starting to realize? These Montverde guys are valuable for our team. It's like something about Montverde. I think that in some ways you get kind of bona fide with Scotty if you went through that high school. Sandro, RJ, they're both Montverde guys. Scotty's a Montverde guy. Day'Ron Sharpe is a Montverde guy. If he came and showed up, he'd fit in that whole like Montverde fraternity. I feel like that is a big part of things. I'd love Day'Ron to still come here. I think he'd be way better than Mo Bamba. So this could be very good. Very, very good. Smooth saying, well, the 5 is still a problem. Interesting to see what the Raptors do now. I think they're not doing anything. I think what they said is exactly right. Blake Murphy, Josh Lindbergh, Doug Smith, they're all saying that we're going to sign him to a 10-day tomorrow, and he's still going to be around the team. It's just that we didn't want to guarantee him for the whole year. And that's interesting. They tried him out, and they said, well, if you do so well and you just astound us, you'll get this year contract. But you know what? In some ways, we're not feeling comfortable doing it now this morning. I'm sorry. We're waiving you, but we don't want you to go away. We were going to put you on a 10-day contract tomorrow. That's what they're saying. So we'll just see if that's still true. If it isn't him, maybe it's somebody totally different that we get to see. We'll have to see. Yeah, let's see. Daniel's saying, yes, it is, which was at least one thing to like about Bamba. It shut down the center problem discussion. Yeah. Yeah, and we can still do that. Although it's weird because the answers to the center problem is coming from Collin and Scotty now. Like in some ways, it's like, look, these guys in some ways are proven that maybe we don't need to get this extra guy. It's kind of crazy, honestly. Randolph's saying, Lex, can Mo Bamba be sent to the G League for reps? I think we should call Shed the closer. The closer? Yeah, I don't know if that's the right nickname for Shed because he's not closing the game every game. He's actually not closing the game all the time at all. So I don't know if that's the right nickname for Shed. I still like Steady Sheddy. That's a good nickname. Steady Sheddy. I like that. Steady Sheddy. It's not Shed Van Vliet, which is exactly a Van Vliet nickname, but Steady Sheddy is pretty good because he can be steady. Mo Bamba can be sent to the G League, but I don't think that he will be. I don't know what the point is there. Yeah, Kaloy saying he's going to get a 10-day. Yep, probably. Stargate's saying, oh, I heard that too. They're going to put him on a 10-day. Yeah. I think Bamba is in the development pipeline now. Okay. Raptors have waived Mo Bamba. That's right. Kaloy saying Collin is a combination of skill, strength, and intelligence. Yeah. There's for sure. Those are the right attributes. He will sign a 10-day by Thursday. Okay, Trevor's breaking news, but he's behind the other guys. If this is a classic card, you didn't get the classic card points, Trevor. Daniel's saying Lex is way behind the comments, so he hasn't seen that Bamba's wave. Yep, and I'm catching up now, and this is cool. I like to do a true reaction on the show when news like this comes out. And like I said, this is kind of not really news. It's just a adjustment of what the contract he is on. If it's going to be a 10-day tomorrow, that's right. Fiercely saying, oops, that won't age well. Lex being positive about Bamba, not knowing he's been waived. Well, why does it not age well? He's going to be on our team tomorrow still. Probably. We'll see. Let's see. Fiercely saying, Koloko on a 10-day hardship contract. I wouldn't be surprised if he circles back to us. We never know. No, just let Koloko go. He's not coming back to Toronto. Oblonsky's here. Good to see another name in the chat. Thank you for your subscription. We haven't played against real centers. Centers like JV from the Nuggets and Hornets destroy us. Yeah, Jonas did destroy us the other day when we played them on New Year's Eve. And then he got hurt, and then he wasn't out there for a while. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like when we get out west and we play like the Clippers and Zubac, that's a good test right there. So, I think that what Bobby's doing with Mo Bamba is he's gauging it against Jakob's progress. And there was very good news about Jakob yesterday. So in some ways, this is a sign that he was waived is because Pirtle's almost ready to come back and be healthy and play for us. I think that's the way to read it, is the way to read it right there. Yeah. Fiercely saying, fam, don't forget to vote for your All-Stars. That's right. Vote for Scotty, vote for Brandon, vote for Chris Paul. That's a fantastic vote. On the other side, vote for Chris Paul on the Clippers. Fiercely saying, great point by Lex on the Sixers looking good on paper, but not hang on, it jumped. Let me make sure I don't miss this. But hang on. Great point by Lex on the Sixers looking good on paper, but not having team cohesion. Same applies to Sacramento with DeMar, Russ, Sabonis, and Levine. Yeah, I don't want to even bring up the Kings. That's a soft spot for me. And in some ways, we don't need to dump on them or talk about them. I think that they could have cohesion. It's just the Kings are screwed up with their team building, and that team doesn't make sense. DeMar plays fine with Zach. That's not a problem. In some ways, I don't want to dump on the Kings. Let's not bring them up. They don't even need to be brought up in this situation. The Sixers are different. There's team players on the Kings. They can play like a team. It's just that their talent's not good enough to beat the rest of the league. That's the problem with the Kings. The Sixers are not necessarily playing as a team. And that's what I was saying. Yeah, don't bring up the Kings. We don't need to bring them up. I feel bad for them. Those are a lot of guys on that team I have a soft spot for. And I don't want to deride DeRozan, Dennis, or Precious. I don't want to. Those are dudes I care about and I like. Let's see. Kesper is saying both our Sixers games are 2 straight nights, a back-to-back with the same team. I have a feeling Embiid won't play one of them. If he does, I would be surprised. Yeah, that's a good point. Anybody who's kind of like if Pirtle's coming back around, then he won't play in both those games either. So that'll be interesting to see. And even RJ, he's been coming back from his injury. Would he be able to play in back-to-backs by then, where he can play in both Philadelphia games next week? We'll just have to see. But yeah, that's a good point by Kespra. I think it's very likely that both Paul George and Joel Embiid will not play in both those games because of a back-to-back situation. For sure. Fiercely saying that Glorilla picture, the ring is on the wrong finger. Also, the disposition of the left hand is weird, as if the right hand was juxtaposed on the left wrist. Bad Photoshop job. That could be what it is. It could have been a Photoshop. I think everybody just wants to say this. It could very well be that they are engaged on the down low, and it is true. In some ways, this is not an area of Raptor stuff that I care about, the social stuff and their private lives. You know, if Brandon and Glorilla are engaged, congratulations. Otherwise, in some ways, it's not that important to me. It's not that important to me. Let's see. Fiercey's also saying, but if they are indeed engaged, I'm happy for them. Yeah, I'm happy for them either way. They found love with each other, and it doesn't matter if they get engaged or not. They're just in a relationship, and they're making each other happy. That's right. I don't want Trae Young with the Raptors. Hard pass. I'm with you on that. His individual accolades never lead to significant winning, a.k.a. a championship. High usage and absolutely a detriment on the defensive end. G saying they asked Collin if he's surprised at how strong he is as a rookie in the league. Paraphrasing, he said, "Nah, I lift." I know, I heard that part. I know. That's what I'm saying. He built himself up to be ready for it to come in. Usually guys will come in lazy, or they'll come in and they think they're ready and they get a rude awakening. But Collin Murray-Boyles has been more of the rude awakening going the other way because he came in prepared. And he had this in his foresight ahead of time. There's like, I want to be strong in the NBA. I'm going to do the work now ahead of time, and I'll show it when I get there. And that's kind of what it is. It's kind of what it is right there. Shaq Lindsay saying, thank you for asking. My flamboyant appreciation for the effort I saw last night was subtle and composed with very slow claps. I love it. On the reel, I cheered my ass off. Laugh out loud. That's awesome, man. Yeah, and it was right from the start, too. It was like no mercy. The Raptors jumped out all over them. None of this slow start last night. Extremely professional and very dedicated to energy expenditure and playing together. And that's the result you get from that. It's like almost like they listened to my keys to the victory yesterday. I said, y'all play as a team, y'all out energy them, and you go inside, you will win. And they did that. They did all that stuff last night. And it was awesome to see. In some ways, they make me look good when I prognosticate the morning of the show, the morning of the game. And I say, if they do this, they'll win. And then I see them go out and do it. And I'm like, and they win. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. But yeah, they really played very well. And the thing is, they could be lackadaisical when their things are going so well and have a letdown. No, they're not. And this is really an area where I love Darko, because it doesn't matter the score. We could be up 20 or we could be down 20. These guys are playing with effort and playing all out no matter what. And even if we had a huge lead at the end, like a 20-point lead, they weren't going to let down. They were going to play all out like they already were, because that is part of building their DNA and their characteristics and who they are. And they were doing that last night for sure. It was crazy. Kareem saying, in my personal but always right opinion, I think Collin, aka Combo, would be a rookie of the year if we were to start every game moving forward. Besides all that, I want to see a lineup of Yak, Collin, Scotty, BI, and RJ. Yeah, that man, everybody going after IQ like this. Nah, man, listen, I get it. In some ways, this rookie class is kind of weak, and there is a ripe for the picking kind of thing at the top. But what are our goals? Is our goal to get Collin Murray-Boyles rookie of the year? No, it's not. It is not, and it shouldn't be. Because in some ways, you could fight for that goal all year long, and the NBA's politics will just shade him and not give him any respect anyway. You know, the Scotty thing was very amazing. In some ways, that was a crowded rookie class, and he winning the rookie of the year was awesome. You know, maybe Collin could do this, but I'm not doing this at the expense of some of our players not getting to start just for the quest of the rookie of the year. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And it's not always right, your opinion. No, I'm not sacrificing IQ just to start Collin on the quest for Roy. No, you don't do that, man. You don't do that, man. You don't do that. Kareem saying Bamba being waived before guaranteed date is very questionable. Not really. Like, is there another move pending, or is he just that ass? Man, everybody wants to just say, like, everybody's either just really bad or really good in this league. Why can't there be somewhere in the middle? Like, it's not that he's ass. It's just that in some ways, Bobby's doing what he does, like GM-wise, that makes the most sense business-wise and contract-wise. If we had not waived him today, we would have guaranteed him for the rest of the year. And in some ways, the money on the cap and different things like that would have been different. So we just got to trust Bobby, and he knows his method of madness. The overtures are that he's coming right back tomorrow on a 10-day contract. And that makes more sense. In fact, I was kind of surprised they gave him a guaranteed contract that would have guaranteed in the next couple of days, because I was like, man, I don't know if we want to be on the hook for him for the whole year. And, you know, flexibility, this is flexibility. And it's just Bobby gaming the system and the rules for the right way to do things. And in some ways, we don't even know all the reasons why he does it exactly the way he does it. And some of it does have to do with money. Some of it does have to do with deadlines. Some of it does have to do with actually the talent and what Mo Bamba is. But you can't just say he's ass just because everybody is so like black and white with everything. Like, oh, you're not an all-star. You're no good. You don't start. You're no good. This is bullshit. These players are a different kind of level of different talents. And just because somebody gets waived doesn't mean they're ass or a bad basketball player. The NBA is hard. The NBA is tough. The NBA is a business. The NBA has only a certain amount of spots. And, you know, going from, oh, he got waived, he must be just ass. That's a very casual observation and perception. Not taking into account all the different stuff. This is Bobby on the moon stuff. Bobby lives on the moon. We don't live on the moon. We aren't GMs in the NBA. We don't understand all the inner workings. We don't understand all the rules. We don't understand the politics. We don't understand the real terrain that Bobby has to work within as the head of basketball operations and GM of the Raptors. We can only look from the outside. We can make little basic assumptions. Oh, Mo Bamba must suck really bad. That's why we cut him. It's casual. It's a casual outside perspective. That's not totally the truth. Let's just put it that way. Shaq Lindsay saying, yeah, it probably didn't make sense to keep Mo Bamba. Yak is back with his back, and the trade deadline is near, which makes us in the market for a small trade for a big backup big. Yeah, we can improve and get Day'Ron Sharpe. That's a better player. That's a better player than Mo Bamba. That is a better player, and he's more useful, and he's more NBA useful. So that may exactly be what we're trying to do right there. Yeah, cap gymnastics. I like that term. That sounds about right, Kaloy. I heard he's staying around. That's right. That's right. Shed is one hell of a dog. Did you see when Porzingis was in his face and he was not backing down? Yeah. Yeah. And that's the right way to be. I mean, he took a really cheap shot on him and he took offense to it. And that's why he fouled him hard when he went up for that layup. And Porzingis was like, whoa, this little guy just did a semi-dirty play, But like Jack said in the call on the show, that that's a playoff play. If you're going to the basket like that, your coach expects you to nail the guy and not give any easy layups. So it's not like, that may be a little out of place because it's the middle of the season and not the playoffs. But that play is a playoff play that Shed did when he fouled Porzingis, and Porzingis got mad and shoved him. So yeah, it is what it is. Shed's a competitor. He's a tough little guy, and I would be afraid of 7'4" Porzingis if I was him. I wouldn't, because I'm a tough little guy. In some ways, Porzingis is all kind of and huffiness, and not necessarily a bad guy or a tough guy himself. Just because he's 7'4", yeah, whatever. Fiercely saying, Lex, speaking of Montverde, did you know that there was a real rivalry between Kate Cunningham and Jalen Green? Scotty is friends with both, but they don't like each other at all and have been pitted against each other since high school. Yeah, that may be part of the reason why Scotty is such a let's all be friends kind of guy. Like, he doesn't want to be against Jalen Green. He doesn't want to be against Cade. He doesn't want to be against Evan. He doesn't want to be against any of those guys from his draft class. And even Jalen Suggs and him are buddies. Jalen Suggs, they were leaving the court the other day when we played Orlando. He was talking to Jalen like they were best friends and walking off the court. So Scotty, it's weird like that. He's a competitor and he wants to beat everybody, but it's also very important that he has friendships with people too. It's very interesting. I did not know about the verses between Jalen Green and Kate Cunningham. I did not know about that aspect. Kesper's saying Yak actually matches up very well with Jakob, though. With Jonas, though, we could have really used him for that Nuggets game. Oh, for sure. We could always use Jakob in any game we play. He's very useful, and we're better when he is on the court for the Raptors. That's just the truth. Fiercely saying, I'm not dumping on the Kings. I actually like them, and it saddens me. The Sixers, though, I'm glad they're struggling. I just don't want to bring up the Kings because it makes me sad. I just don't want to bring them up. Let's just forget that DeMar is spoiling his year in Sacramento right now. I hate that. I hate that so much. For DeMar DeRozan, a real one for the Raptors, somebody that I really, really, really appreciate and respect and love a lot. KT saying the Kings were never the same since old boy wore the Not Like Us shirt. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. The owner wore that Not Like Us shirt and everything went downhill for them since. Yeah, that is interesting. I noticed that too. That's interesting. Kenne's here. Going to see original Rabbit Free Kenne. Collin was amazing. Again, Shed is our point guard. We have 2 point guards, and we're not getting rid of 1 point guard just to get this point guard. And Shed honestly wasn't that good last night. Totally. He wasn't totally good. And honestly, Darko's been very critical of Shed recently. Way more critical of him than IQ. Seriously. He said way more negative things about what Shed's doing out on the court than Emmanuel. So why are fans coming after Emmanuel and propping up Shed? Because IQ is not getting detrimental talk from the coach. He's saying good things about him. He said, no, I think IQ's playing good. Somebody tried to say that Sandro's been in a slump recently. And Darko said, Sandro's not in a slump. What are you talking about? Sandro's not in a slump. See, perception is so weird. Y'all can have y'all's perceptions as fans about what the team should do and what's going on with it. But then the coaches have a totally different reality than y'all. And the thing that Darko's saying about our point guards right now is that Shed's causing too many turnovers, and he has to tighten that up. And that's his biggest issue right now. And he has not said anything detrimental about IQ. He says IQ shoots the ball. I want him to. And we hope that they go in. So there's a real disconnect here. There's too much IQ hate and too much IQ dissing. And they're not actually listening to what people are saying around the team about what IQ's doing. IQ's fine. There's no issues with IQ. It's just fans have built up issues because of dumb stuff. And honestly, Jamal needs more work, is what Darko's been saying, because he's making really dumb turnovers in places that he shouldn't. He shouldn't. So Shed is a point guard, but he's not our point guard. Our point guard is Emmanuel to start. Let's see. Trevor's saying this. CMB last night interview. Nah, I lift. And Kesper's saying too much unawareness and assumptions on the internet. Yeah. Yeah. And trying to fill in the blanks. I know I'm guilty of that. Maybe I was trying to fill in the blanks earlier. I saw a smile on Obama's face. I said, oh, he must be happy. He must be sticking around. And then he gets waved. He might still be happy because he knows he's fine. He's going to be back tomorrow. So it's interesting how that works. All right, we're over 2 hours, and I've gotten to the end of the comments. So let me go ahead and do a rundown real quick on the stuff that I didn't do yet. Let's do the Instagram stories. Mamu with the score last night, 118-100 over the Hawks. And there he is in action, making a layup. He's been fantastic. Dynamo getting up and down the court, making threes, and playing a big man defense when we need him also. Jonathan coming in the game with a big smile, coming in the game. He's not been playing as much on the Raptors, but we'll probably see him on the 905 later tonight. There's Collin with the chain on his Instagram. And I noticed in the team photo, 2 guys were missing. It was Sandro, Mamu, and Scotty. And I'm guessing Scotty was not in the team photo last night, partly because he was doing the interview in the practice room, I think, at that point. He was probably in the interview room. Why is Mo Bamba's finger in Jamal Shedd's ear? I just noticed that, the team picture. There's Jacoby's got the team picture up too. Team unity is strong. More guys are posing like Grady. We got Elijah doing the pose now too. There's Jacoby with his fit coming in the game. AJ Lawson celebrating Coach Andrew Jones as Coach of the Month. It's fantastic. And there's an action photo of him. Grady's got his fit coming in. And also a shot of him making one of his threes in the game last night. And let's see what else is in Grady's Instagram. There's the team photo with him posing. Jonathan's posing too. And then one of the Grady threes. That's really nice. And let's see. Battle's got the score from last night, the win. Coco Wade celebrating Andrew Jones is Coach of the Month. Let's see. Nardwar's got a new interview out with Mike, if you want to check that out. Let's see. What else do we got? Elijah Martin has got a clip of him going to the Boys and Girls Club of Canada with the Raptor and giving back to the community and being around the kids. That's awesome. I love to see that stuff. And he's putting on blast Andrew Jones for Coach of the Month. And there's his entry picture from the other day. There's Norman with his mother on his Instagram. Very cool to see Norm with his mom. Let's see. Who else we got? Anybody else that I care about talking about on here? No, that's it. That's your Instagram stories right there. Andrew Jones is Coach of the Month for the G League. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Any more breaking news on Mo Bamba? No, some cameraman is retiring from the Raptors. You know what? Listen, I want to say this right now. Whoever's doing the camera work on the sideline for the Raptors, stop doing this running shot with people's heads in the front of the camera. Seriously, stop doing this. This is bad for people with vertigo and dizziness. I hate it. The whole artistic motif of the cameraman for TSN that's running along the sideline and having people's heads flashing in front of us, I hate that so much. Stop doing that. You can be artistic like that. Like some of the stuff you're doing from the end line and coming up and sneaking up on people doing free throws, that's fine. But when you do this thing where you run behind the courtside people with their heads in the screenshot and we're trying to watch the action behind them, stop doing this. You're not film noir. You're not like a cinematic like movie. And you're not doing this. You're giving people sickness from having these heads flashing really quickly by as you run by. Stop doing this shot. It's like I feel like one of these TSN camera guys is their signature and their whole thing. Fuck that shit. You're giving me a headache when you're doing that. So no more running behind the front row with their heads in the screen in front of the foreground of the action I'm trying to watch. You can be all art house and shit on your own pet projects and your own private life. But when you're broadcasting the Raptors on TSN, stop doing this shit. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. And it's something I've been meaning to bring up on the channel, but I keep forgetting to. TSN, you're doing this. You're doing this, not Sportsnet. Whoever's the cameraman who runs along behind the head, stop. Stop today. You can do some of the artistic stuff you do with sneaking up into like from the sideline and stuff, but none of this kinetic running across where heads are flashing at the bottom of the screen get in the way of watching the game. It's stupid. It doesn't have the effect that you think it does for the person at home. It's just dumb and it's annoying. So stop doing it. I don't know if it's this Mark Millette guy who's retiring. He's a cameraman who worked 40 years with TSN. And he's retiring now. I don't know if it's that dude that's leaving. He stopped doing that. That's great. That's great. That's what I'll say to that. That's great. Y'all, straight goods on Canadian goods. This is a little different. Y'all, I don't know if y'all know this, but Cirque du Soleil is a Canadian good. And this is a bag from Cirque du Soleil last summer, Ovo. And I got a pillow too. It's a little kiwi pillow. Well, Cirque du Soleil is a really important Canadian institution. It's a Canadian company that's global and worldwide and makes a ton of money and brings it into our economy. So, Cirque du Soleil will start in Toronto, down at the Lakeshore in June. And you can go to the show. This year's show is going to be centered around a story about Mexico and Mexican heritage and culture. So it's going to be really cool. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Lucia, and it's going to start June the 18th. So you can support Canadian business by going to Cirque du Soleil shows this summer. So if you see Cirque du Soleil, even if you see it in Las Vegas or in other places around the world, you buy a ticket to that, you're supporting Canadian industry, because Cirque du Soleil is a Canadian corporation that brings the money back to our country. Just so y'all know. That's it right there. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see where we are in the chat. You guys wrote some more. Blackhawks saying just got tickets for Raptors versus Bulls from a coworker. There you go. You can go to that game. Kaloy saying hot take. I think we have a mini Steph Curry with IQ. His shooting can be could be an awesome weapon if used the same way off ball. IQ, I think it's in general, it's true for most of the Raptors. They're better shooting off ball than trying to make their own 3-point attempts from cultivating through footwork or stuff like that themselves. This is why they need each other as a team, because Brandon hits threes better when he's getting a catch from the inside. IQ, same thing. These guys shoot better when they're catching it from the inside out to the three. And they're catching it that way. So I think in general, all these guys are better that way. They noticed that with IQ last night. It's like almost when the play's broken down and they have to readjust, and then somebody's just left open somewhere in the corner and they get the ball over them, they're hitting that three. It's more likely to go in. And like you guys said about Grady's 2 threes he made last night, these were passes back out from collapsing the defense into the center. So, yeah, this is good stuff. We didn't see the zone as much last night against us from the Hawks, which is good. They don't use the zone very much, though. They don't. Let's see. Neil saying, people were ecstatic about Darko benching IQ. I burst their bubble by showing them it was not a benching. IQ played basically 8 minutes from the start of the fourth. Darko had to sub him out for rest. Yeah. And once again, this isn't like a punishment. This is Darko selecting the best 5 to close out and the right synergy and how they're working with each other, especially on defense. That was the case. And IQ has been a part of that final 5 at the end of the game more often than not. It's just that they want to interpret this and pile on this. I think there's people in Raptors Nation that make content that look for little strings to pull apart. And they say, oh, that's interesting. IQ didn't get to close the game against Orlando. He must be in trouble. Let's push this and let's make a narrative about this. No, this is just normal stuff where a coach went with a different guy at the end of the game because of the matchup or maybe the way the game was going that night. But IQ's been closing games out since then. So everybody in Raptors Nation is like, oh, ding dong, the witch is dead. IQ's not finishing games anymore. That's not true. That is not true at all. And that's a good point by Neil right there, that he played most of that fourth. It's just he didn't play at the very end. That's it. Yeah. Shaq Lindsay's breaking the news that Mo Bamba got waived. Yeah, that's how you get behind on my news, way behind. Yeah, either way, I don't care. I found that out already. And some ways I don't, do I have to know right the second a Woj bomb or a Shams bomb gets dropped? No, I can find out eventually when I do. And I'll react to it on this channel, true to it. And either way, that's right. It's all good because Bobby can give Mo Bamba 10 days. Yeah, we'll just figure it out. We're going to figure it out. Let Bobby do his work. We'll just watch him in amazement. That's what I say. Reggie's saying, I heard that Curry comparison a lot with IQ. That's unfair, in my opinion. Steph is an anomaly. There's only one Steph. Let IQ be who he is. Yeah, I agree with that. It's not fair to anybody. I don't think anybody can be Steph Curry because in some ways they don't understand exactly who Steph is. The proficiency from distance. I mean, he makes these shots from the entryway. It's crazy. He's just a totally different kind of one-on-one. If you're going to say he can be kind of like him in some ways, sure. His range is far enough out, but I don't think that he's the same kind of player. I really don't. IQ is kind of very individually himself. I don't think he likes being compared to Maxey. I think that in some ways it's very simple to compare him to Maxey. A lot of similarities, same school. But in some ways, he very much does not want to be a carbon copy of Maxey. He wants to be Quickly. and he's going to be who he's going to be. We got to get him to continue to make better decisions more and more, and he'll be fine. I'm sure there were times last night that both Barrett and Quickly frustrated Raptors fans, and they were saying things to their TV like, "Oh, get him out of there, get Shed in there," and stuff like that. I was like, man, these guys can't all be perfect, and they're going to have some dud possessions. And you got to just allow for them. If they have more winning percentages, possessions, then they win. And if they don't, they lose. And last night, everything was fine. The balance was fine, and we cruised to a very good victory and took care of business sweeping the Hawks. That's what matters the most right there. That's what matters the most. All right, let's keep going with there's a birthday. Happy birthday to Will Barton, guys. Will Barton was a Raptor for a very short period of time. You guys remember Will Barton? He's now an assistant coach for the Timberwolves G League team, the Iowa Wolves. But yeah, he retired. His last team in the NBA was us. Will Barton came and played for us in 2023, and he played in 16 games for the Toronto Raptors, and he started 2 of them. He averaged 4.5 points as a Raptor in 2022-2023. So yeah, Will Barton. You guys remember Will? He has a hip hop career. He actually makes albums too. So happy birthday to former Raptor Will Barton, who's 35 today. 35 years old today. Will Barton. Will the Thrill. I think that's what they called him. Will the Thrill. Let's see. Check on your fantasy teams. We started a new week, and I've got a lead on Mike. So check on your NBA Yahoo fantasy teams for sure. All right, let's do the classic card. All right, let me get the card box. You're saying y'all are right. It can't be Steph Curry, but it can be Black Curry. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. Who is this? Oh, yeah. We'll do this one. All right. Full name answer, please, on this one. This guy. Can you tell who that is? This guy has a very famous relative who's sold millions of records. And yeah, this guy is in. I don't think he's with the Bucks anymore. There you go. Fiercey knows. It's Marjan Beauchamp, the nephew of Flavor Flav of Public Enemy. That's right. Flavor Flav's is his uncle. It's kind of cool. So yeah, Marjan, you got that, Fiercey. Good job. That's a pretty tough one in some ways. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a 200. We've been given 200s for semi-tough cards. Marjan Beauchamp. Yeah, I wonder why you knew that. You knew that pretty quick there too. I guess you're just familiar with him and what he looks like. So Fiercey Salsera, 200 points for the classic card of the day. That's awesome. All right, let's do the rundown, the wrap up, and get out of here. 2.5 hours. All right, the Raptors played the Hawks last night, and they won. They swept the Hawks for the season, and that'll be really good for any kind of thing at the end of the season. It probably won't matter. My 5 stars of the game: Collin Murray-Boyles, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick, and RJ Barrett. Honorable mention to Emmanuel Quickly and Jamal Shed. Yeah, the Raptors 905 are playing tonight against Noblesville Boom at the Paramount Fine Food Center. I believe the game is at 7:30. Brent Haskell is the crew chief. Julian Scott is the referee. And Ian McClenny is the umpire. I hope you'll join us on the YouTube and on for Canada for the game tonight, so you can watch the game with us. All right, guys. Yeah, you like Chuck D from Public Enemy? You like Flavor Flav? Yeah, they're a great band. They're fantastic. They still tour from time to time. And their music is more relevant than ever. Fight the power. Yeah, fight the power for sure, man. For sure. All right, I'm out. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Let's go, Raptors. Thanks for watching the Raptor Freak stream today. I appreciate your patronage and time spent with me. Let's have a great day. I got the broom. I got to go sweep the floor now because we got a broom last night sweeping the Atlanta Hawks. So, yeah, I'm going to sweep the house in honor of that. And we'll have the preview for the Hornets game tomorrow at 9:30. I have the refs and all the latest lineup news. We'll find out more about Jakob. It's not likely he'll be playing tomorrow, but we could see him for Friday against Boston. I feel like that may be very possible. All right, guys, have a great day. Let's go, Raptors. Sweep, baby. Sweep. Wow. Sweep it out, man. Sweep the Hawks. That's right. We had those Hawks. You got swept. Y'all are out. Sweep.